Hello. Oh, you're muted. Hello, everyone. How's it going? I cannot hear you. You are.
Yeah, I was muted because I had a baby and I don't. He wanted to say hello.
Hi,
A
baby. I
lot.
forgot the baby's name.
Quran.
Karan. Karan.
Mhm.
Karan. Philip Scott. I remember Philip's name now. So Karan. Shouldn't be so hard. Come on, Karan. You can do it.
He doesn't know his name yet though,
It's okay.
because they call him Dada all the time.
He'll get there.
He'll get there. He's still little. He's huge though. He's huge. So people think he's older than what he is.
He doesn't look too big to me. How's it going, John
Oh,
Kemper? What's up, CBC? Extra Bullo?
hi, Unc. Hi, CBC, John. Whoever's lurking in the back. Um, Well, I'm just here for moral support today.
Yeah, well, I've been working on this article here for I'm not sure exactly how long, but at least 2 months, probably 3 months, longer than I intended to. I certainly did not mean to make such a long article, but I did feel the more that I kept looking into things, the more interconnected things seemed to be, the more things that didn't seem to be relevant uh, could have been left to another article. I just felt maybe was worth including in this one, so I'll leave it to you guys to judge. Um, this was a pretty good learning experience for me, though. I learned a lot just looking into the topic, but I also was learning kind of how to write. A little bit of how to think for yourself again, because when you're doing a lot of this media reporting work, when you're just reading from other people's work, you're not so much doing as much critical thinking as will be required for you to actually write the damn work yourself. So it was a good thing to go through. I'm not sure if I'm quite cut out for this kind of work. If it takes me so long to make this kind of content, I don't necessarily feel like the idea of asking for people to subscribe when I hardly make any content for them. If they're going to be making a monthly donation, you want to at least come out with some kind of content once a month or something. But well, I don't know. We'll see. If you guys think that it's quality work, then that could help um, give me the confidence to believe that I kind of have a space in this space. There's a place for me.
That is actually a really good point that you mentioned about reading other people's work as opposed to like constructing it and writing it yourself. 'Cause I don't know how long it's been since I've done that. It's been a long time. Yeah.
Right.
I don't even know if I remember all the things that you're supposed to do in grammar. I think I'd probably do better at that than actually writing the whole article. I don't know. Maybe that's a challenge. I should try one too.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, that sounds good. That's where I was hoping to try to link the Substack to the stream and everything, and the technical side of it's a bit defeating me there. I'm a little worried that I won't really be able to even set up the subscription service without creating some kind of small business, and that's like I'm trying not to be a bourgeois, but literally the law forces you. You want to try and create your own like control your own product, I guess technically you have, according to the law, you have to be a sole proprietor or a nonprofit, and I just don't want to corporatize what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do something genuinely, make a radical break from the classical relations to productions, and it's not exactly possible, and it's frustrating. So we'll have to figure that out one day, or bend the knee and just make a fucking corporation so they can tax me and track me and all that. And not that they're doing that anyways, but
I mean,
anyway.
It could be nonprofit.
That's what I'm gonna have to maybe consider. It's not such a big thing. It's the whole thing about kind of having a purity fetish about, oh, I gotta be so perfect above and beyond everyone else. I'm not willing to even create the personhood of a corporation because I think that it's illogical and absurd and something we need to make a break from, which is completely true. But for you to do it as an individual instead of a collective way, like, it doesn't work. So you gotta not to fall into vanity. Before we get started, I'd like to do our GoFundMe's at the beginning, trying to get in that habit so that there's a maximized chance that they get some attention, some feedback, right? So we're not looking just for it to be seen. That's kind of a waste of time. We're looking for actual material solidarity, not just the words, which is I guess I'll have to be after the end of this too, because I haven't been able to put the subscriptions. I'm going to put up my own Ko-fi account thing too, because while we're trying to get to a place where we can abolish money, we're not there obviously at all, and so money is a bit of an imposition that we have to kind of live with. So anyway, this is Yonina's GoFundMe. She's gotta get in touch with her next time I'm in Political Matrix's chat. Hopefully she'll be there, and I'll be able to ask her if she's made it to Chicago and everything, how she's doing. Either way, she's definitely in need of some assistance. She's on the disability just like I am, and moving is expensive enough. Rent is so slow moving emergencies. It is for most of us. Doesn't make it any less of an emergency. Let me just drop that link in the chat there, and
so John, we're not sure if she moved yet. She was supposed to be moving like at the beginning of June, right?
Yeah, actually, she did say, she gave me a little bit of an update in the Discord. I forget exactly what it was that she said. I'm not sure if I can quickly find it. I don't know which category it is in the Discord, but she had said like her eviction was kind of maybe delayed in for some reason, but she still has to move out. So it's not like she doesn't need to move anymore, but there was some reason for a delay. So I don't want to speak on details. I'm forgetting now. I didn't want to like get bogged down on that too much. I'm just trying to say these are the GoFundMes that we're sharing. I mean, I got some people on Facebook too that I think that might be Palestinians or might be bots or not, but I don't know, because I don't really trust Facebook, and they are kind of reaching out to me asking for help. So maybe I should be sharing some of their donation platforms too, but I don't want to be just sharing donation from people I don't really haven't really verified who I'm actually talking to. I feel like there's a lot of grifters out there. So, but anyways, not to talk about grifters. This is someone who's not a grifter. This is someone who's seriously in some dire straits right now. Working mother taken by ICE. Please help. This is a fundraiser for Natalie Lechkova. She was been here 9 years legally, and then they took her over an illegal traffic stop, a registration that was not expired. So please help her with this.
What did you say? What was a expired registration?
She's been taken into ICE custody after being illegally stopped over a registration that was not expired.
Oh, I see.
They made a false pretense for red, and there should be some accountability for that, regardless of whether you even agree with ICE or not. Which is, I think, if you agree with what they're doing, you're kind of trashy human being. But doesn't even if you agree with what they're fucking doing, whatever, you should not be trying to act like that the police have the right to arrest people who are here legally over reasons that they didn't have reasons to arrest people for. That's not even, it's a whole different fucking ball game. And that's where the slippery slope that these dumbass racists are on, that they land in this fascist nonsense. And then they can't do the right thing and at least admit that this is bullshit, right? But there's plenty of us who are not in that fucking rabbit hole of racism, who are hopefully capable and willing to help someone like this. They're asking us for help. We're asking you to help them. We don't have jobs. So when I get some money, like I've gotten some tax money in recently, I could use some of that to give to them. Maybe I'll give a little bit, just because I haven't seen anybody give anything. And if you got to have the unemployed fucking person on disability, like the alcoholic, is the only guy who's going to give someone some fucking money, fine. It's on you guys. You know what I mean? So, anyway.
Well, that was a little passive aggressive.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just a pothead alcoholic comedian. You know what I mean?
Oh, that was hilarious. Little Jimmy Dore reference for you.
So yeah, how long this article will take me to read it?
How many pages is it?
I'm not sure, because it's like a thing.
Oh,
but it's pretty long. I put a lot of links. So as far as the whole, I got the receipts thing. You could say, I don't think an article like this would be very impactful if I didn't really come with a whole lot of evidence.
Sources?
Yeah, or at least sources. If you want to, evidence can be a bit subjective. So, what's up, old man Barker?
And this is why they tell you college is a scam, because in college you have to have sources to back up your papers.
Yeah, and I didn't write it well enough. Like, I didn't go to university. I got a little bit of high school training on how to write essays and stuff, but like one thing that's probably frustrating for people is the links for the most part are not like active links. You probably have to copy and paste them in. Oh my God, you'll have to copy and paste them in your browser to check them, but they're not dead end links. And I found a lot of doing this investigation. You find some suspicious dead end links, like some wiped fucking evidence.
Yeah. And I started my master's program. I had stopped, but I started, and it's really interesting because all the papers you write, you have to put it through this tool or something, and you're only so if you have more than, I think maybe 15% of your paper like comes straight from somewhere else, without, like, you have to put it in quotes and stuff like that, and and show where it came from or whatever. Yeah. But you could only have about, it was like 15 to 25% of your paper could be that. Everything else.
I tried to do that exact thing where if I'm quoting someone, I'll put the quotations in the link, but I don't know if you check it out,
you have to cite it
20% or whatever. Yeah.
What do you think we're doing?
But that's the thing, like, and nowadays the other thing is like write your own words instead of getting the AI to write your words for you. Right. So I did have a little bit of in my research, I did use the DeepSeek AI, some disclosure there. but I felt like you can judge for yourself if you think that that's a compromising issue, or but I think if you can use the AI right, just like if you can do your use of sources right, like um, it's a helpful kind of tool as opposed to something that like becomes a crutch. So um, shall I get into it here without further ado?
I'm excited.
All right, here we go.
Where is Rondo when you need him?
It's all good. This is where, while it may be live, I appreciate how not everyone can be here in the moment. And for anyone who's catching this on the rewind, thank you very much. I hope that you appreciate what I have to say.
I
I might ruffle a few feathers, most likely. This is not exactly like, there might be a few things in here that is going to offend some. I may have to call some people out, basically. So some people aren't going to like what I have to say.
Give you a hard time for the last time because the article is here.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
hi, Old Man Barker and Jacqueline.
What's up, Jacqueline? OMB. All right, here we go. So, lingering LaRouche connections and the fetters of fascism. There is a disturbing amount of red-brown collaboration and cognitive capture of the vanguard of ostensibly independent media. So I tried to be a little bit Marxist-Leninist with this. You'll see from the language. Some people might resent that. I try to do that, but I'm too much of an amateur, not enough of an expert. But here we go. There is a great deal of resentment and confusion among Western leftists, Marxists, about how to revive working class consciousness and revolutionary political action in America and the West in general. Many have become convinced that too much time and energy has been and continues to be spent on bourgeois identity politics and wokeism. Alternatively, many have fallen into the trap of what might aptly be termed a fetish for purity, an academic and ideologically rigorous application and cultivation of theoretical developments that are always just over the horizon, always receding as we approach them. The situation is dire indeed. However, the problem with adopting the position that we need to talk to as many people as possible is a quantity over quality argument that ultimately smashes on the rocks of the vanguard's need to lead an unapologetically Marxist, Leninist, communist party. It is this tension that is the backdrop and impetus for the topic of discussion for today. I am a relative newcomer to grassroots journalism and independent media, and this is the first article I have ever written. To put it simply, I am an amateur. That being said, I hope that those of you who take the time to read this come away from it having at least a begrudging appreciation for the perspective and information provided in this novel investigation. Being a consumer and observer of independent and so-called independent media for several years now, I have been accumulating suspicions and evidence of a not-so-organic influence of LaRouche organizations and networks on the broader independent media ecosystem in general and on Marxist and socialist influencers in particular. This might be surprising or seemingly absurd to those who are unaware of who Lyndon LaRouche was, what his legacy is, or what the names of the organizations are, that absurdly carry on affiliating themselves with such an odious caricature of a revolutionary. Just interrupt me if you have any comments, all right? I will try to be as clear and as concise as possible, however, in order to begin, we will need to start with a brief overview about who Lyndon LaRouche was for those who do not know. LaRouche's organization, or network of organizations, is widely considered through the hindsight of ex-members, journalists, and historians to have been a political cult instead of a genuine movement. LaRouche's organization was considered to be a significant ideological and political threat by the Soviet Union, Marxist-Leninists, Maoists, and Trotskyists alike, with various nuanced views about the designation of the group as a cult and or whether it was fascist or neo-fascist. LaRouche began his political career in the 1940s as a Trotskyist in the Socialist Workers' Party, but broke from Marxism entirely by the 1970s, eventually permeating his work with nationalist, anti-communist, and corporatist views, leading many to draw a comparison to Mussolini, who's probably the most famous example of a far-left to far-right trajectory. LaRouche and his cronies actively participated in the violent suppression of left-wing groups in the U.S. when they launched Operation Mop-Up, assaulting Communist Party, SWP, and Progressive Labor Party members, Black Power activists, on the streets and during meetings. At least 60 assaults were reported, The FBI most likely exploited, encouraged, and aggravated this street violence. The operation only ended when police arrested several LaRoucheites. There were no convictions, however. LaRouche and his cronies consciously participated in the psychological manipulation and brainwashing of recruits, utilizing isolation, personality stripping, total environment control, manufactured paranoia, and ideological indoctrination techniques. This was meant to break down individual identity and self-esteem, separate recruits from friends and family, create dependence on the group, eliminate outside influences, create a state of constant fear and crisis, make the leader indispensable as protector, and foster the belief that members possess exclusive revelatory truth.
So he was trying to develop a cult. Is basically what you're saying there.
And there's lots of people like to object that no, we're not a cult. Like that's just, you know, one of the best ways to discredit someone is to just call them a cult. But this is where.
But those are definitely the telltale signs of how cults are formed.
It's It gets to the matter of the when it comes down to the comparison of the victim's testimony versus the accused. When you're going to sit there and dismiss the accusations of people who said they did all of these things to me, you know, they tried to brainwash me, they tried to torture me, and you're going to just say we gotta like listen to both sides here. We're gonna do the both sidesism on that. So there's too much of a trail of other, like, if you are in doubt that there's any cultish kind of aspects to that, you can put a pin in it and you can observe all the other shit that they get involved with and the shit that they say. Like, if you read the publications, there's a reason why it sounds kind of insane, because it is. And unfortunately, there's a few things that like we can agree with, because part of what they're like, some people like Zionists would use his anti-Zionism as a part of what they're using to call what they're identifying his anti-Zionism as like the cultish kind of brainwashing. But this is the danger of like right-wing anti-Zionism as opposed to left-wing anti-Zionism. There's the whole the British, the Queen of England is a drug dealer, and she's like the reason why Israel exists and everything. Like there's some shade of truth there, but we stop being leftists, we stop being communists when instead of having the class analysis of it's the bourgeoisie in power, you go with the LaRoucheite kind of conspiratorial framing of Zionists control all governments. And that's a bit of an oversimplification. There is some truth to that, but it's not like by agreeing with that like wholeheartedly without any kind of nuance, you end up sort of falling into the trap of agreeing with the talking points of a madman. So
okay.
This man's a crazy motherfucker. I'm pissed off that there's people sitting here saying this guy's got a legacy that needs to be respected. You know, there's the global warming kind of the anti-science dismissal of the climate change, and then there's like the homophobic, the way that they were anti-scientific in the AIDS crisis and whatnot. And there is some nuance there too, because there's likely some kind of like, is AIDS a natural phenomenon, or is it fucking created by the Americans with their warfare shit? Okay, that's a whole different fucking discussion. But the way that LaRouche acted was not with that kind of more clear-headed thinking. It was this: the gays are spreading the AIDS or whatever, and we have to. He was like one of the worst people about excuse to round up the gays and shit, whatever. Like, I didn't really focus too much on that in this article. This is what I'm saying. He hits all the things that makes him like Nazi-esque as far as the extreme anti-homophobe, like the extreme homophobia, the extreme anti-black racism, the extreme anti-Semitism against Jewish people. Right? It's not anti-Zionism when it's just anti-Semitism. You know what I mean? Like, and then when I get pissed off about how there's the certain Marxists trying to rehabilitate some of his economic theory, but it's actually a fucking if you want to do your Marxist analysis, his physical economy stuff, it's a rejection of, like, he went from far left to far right for a reason. He rejected Marxist economics. That's not the solution he's proposing. He's proposing an authoritarian capitalist solution. Right?
Wait. I'm sure you're going to be talking about that in the article.
Well,
I know you get excited.
I didn't really even get into his physical economy stuff. There is so much about him to talk about that it was difficult to kind of bring up some of the shit that has to be rejected from a Marxist perspective about, like, this would be like
maybe that could be your follow-up article.
Yeah, maybe, because I was trying to make this about the network of podcasters that are kind of connected to LaRouche people, whether they understand it or not. And I think a lot of them do, but they don't understand the problem, the guilt by association that's occurring with that. So let's get back to it. Sorry, you had a comment by Jacqueline. Should I read that before I get back?
You can. Hi, Sean, by the way.
What's up, Sean? Perhaps the hyper-focus on identity politics is the result of Western governments' targeting of marginalized identities and groups with draconian laws and policies aimed against these said groups. Exactly, right? So I'm really tired of the left is so weak and hopeless and stupid and whatnot. There's a whole lot of targeting, infiltration. Like, a lot of people were assassinated on the left in order to kill it, but it's all our fault. You know what I mean? And the part of the people who were undermining the left, working with the intelligence agencies. Okay, one of the biggest reasons why you shouldn't trust LaRouche is his fucking willingness to work hand in hand with the CIA. So, fuck idiots who think that they're revolutionary while sitting there actively working with the fucking intelligence community that you guys like to shit on all the time, by the way. Except for when it comes down to the uncomfortable association that you put yourself in with them. Anyway. I put this in bold here because this is another thing about we're struggling to organize because we have to find a way to actually fund a political party. So if you're going to be criticizing people, why don't you want to, like, build a Marxist-Leninist party? Well, because that shit costs fucking money, and you have to come up with a business, whatever, a way to fund your activities that is not just some illegal goddamn Ponzi scheme, because that's not what communism is it? So any political organization worth its salt offers and practices an economic model or paradigm that sustainably resolves the crises and contradictions of the status quo or the incumbent regime. A political organization that relies on a Ponzi or multi-level marketing scheme to obtain and exercise power is absolutely incompatible with legitimacy, credibility, and economic viability, with the working class at least, right? They're very much compatible with the fucking corrupt ruling class who does all that shit to maintain their power. So I guess we got to fight corruption with corruption, right, guys? LaRouche was convicted of tax evasion, mail fraud, and conspiracy to obstruct justice, swindling his political contributors out of $30 million in loans. 6 LaRouche associates also received prison sentences of 3 to 5 years and fines of $6,000 to $11,000. He was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, but was released on parole, serving 5 years on January 26, 1994. Now, of course, the LaRouche group likes to say it's a politically motivated witch hunt, which is exactly what fucking, like, Roger Stone and Donald Trump will just say, whatever, like, oh, there's just a witch hunt. I didn't do anything. My ass is golden.
Is this a fact? Did Stalin and his gang rob a bank to fund the revolution?
Yes, right. That's right. So this is where, yes, but was that a sustainable solution? You know? So there is a little too much of a strong arm, authoritarian, and paranoia undid the Soviet Union and has fucked with China quite a lot. Whatever, like the Sino-Soviet split was very much due to their authoritarian and paranoid tendencies that were justified in times of war, but then it became an impossible decision about how much power to relinquish to the proletariat that you acquired in their name and whatnot. And so there's a huge difference with, like, Stalin and them, though, in that I don't see them after they robbed the bank or whatever, like that they relied on Ponzi schemes to make the Soviet Union work. When they had to go back to using some capitalist, like private, like the market economics and private property relations, that was in the new economic plan. That was a conscious, temporary maneuver, and that's the kind of like that's a whole nother conversation, right? I don't maybe know enough about the details of that exact thing. I'm just saying, when we say follow the money, when we're talking about the capitalists and how that discredits them, that is exactly the same issue that can be used against us if we're not careful. We have to be able to use the money in a way that is more rational than the fascists, or else a lot of our highfalutin theory amounts to it's wrong when they do it, but it's right when we do it. So that's what I'm saying. That, like, this is one of the things that we need to resolve if we want to build a movement properly here. Are we really just going to say that the only way to achieve communism is if we all just go rob banks? I don't think we all have the skills for that. We're not all Stalin. So where was the LaRouche organization was a prominent and vociferous bloviator of homophobic rhetoric and pseudoscience during the AIDS crisis of the 1980s, as well as one of the earliest proponents of climate change denialism in the United States. LaRouche is known to have provided information to the CIA, apparently for personal ambitions rather than loyalty, and to have supported Reagan's Star Wars strategic defense initiative. However, the purpose of this article is not to discuss what should now today be an otherwise more or less irrelevant character, apart from the utility of a cautionary tale, but rather to elucidate the deeply problematic nature of the relationship with the unfortunately still alive and apparently well LaRoucheite legacy, and its real continued effect on the effective organization of a real militant socialist movement in the United States and the rest of the West in general today. Socialist independent media and the ideological blunting effect of being guilty of compromising associations. What initially spurred me to write this article was the gradual recognition of puzzling connections between people I observe in the socialist indie media podcast spaces I regularly tune into, and the guests or hosts of some of these shows who apparently have ongoing support for or participation in the modern pseudo-rebranded LaRouche movement. So this is a bit surprising here. I'm not sure. Let's test out these links, see if they work. But this was like a puzzle where all the pieces started to fit together. So I had no idea until I started looking more into Garland Nixon that Due Dissidence was a little bit caught up in this LaRouche stuff. But it makes a little more sense as to why certain people were approached, such as RBN. So here we go. Let me see if this will play.
Picture, but for various reasons, it's best to do it this way.
So I just wanted to skip ahead here. Not really trying to get locked down in playing the videos because there's lots of them and they're long. They're there. And these faces you'll see start to crop up. This guy, total fraud. Why are these people who are apparently legitimate associating with such people? This man I thought was a very good, he's got a channel called Dialogue Works. His name is Nima Al-Qarshid, but like the dialogues that he has, there are all these people with this Veterans for Intelligence Professionals for Sanity or whatever. Like, you're not an independent channel when you are deeply involved with this network and whatnot. And so there's too much interaction for it to be coincidence, you know? So that's just not even, I'm just like, they'll crop up later. I'm looking for, where is it here? So here, we got Mr. Jose Vega. Goddamn things being very loud or slow. Anthony Aguilar. So these faces you'll start to see. These are your LaRoucheites. Okay. And they're kind of sneaky, some of them. They don't necessarily, even if you kind of call them out and say, are you a LaRoucheite? That's not necessarily, they're not probably going to say, yes, I am. We'll see maybe some of them. I bet you Jose Vega would, you know. Garland Nixon, he should be, unless he's fucking dishonest as a cop that he is, you know. But so not to get hung up on that. As mentioned above, LaRouche was considered a political threat and an enemy of the Soviet Union. This means that any modern-day collaboration between Marxist-Leninist organizations, which proudly uphold the legacy of the Soviet Union, and LaRouche organizations is curious, if not suspicious. Either such an association is done in ignorance of the bad blood and history between LaRouche and the USSR, or it is done with eyes wide open, something I find more likely, given that Marxists pride themselves on their historical materialist method and the importance of a concrete understanding of the history of organizing and struggle in particular. This is why I found it something of a red flag to learn that Garland Nixon, a former policeman and prominent supporter of Diane Sayre's presidential campaign, also performs a weekly podcast with Jyoti Brar, chairwoman of the Communist Party of Great Britain, the Marxist-Leninist Party of Great Britain. After working together, I should have updated this. This was after working together for 2 years, Jolie and Garland currently on episode 57 as of 2 weeks ago, but I wrote that like 2 months ago. So Diane Sayre is one of the top echelon of the LaRouche movement, and this is a quote from her. I had the privilege of working with the brilliant economist and statesman Lyndon LaRouche for 33 years. Funny that she wanted to emphasize that. I feel like it was 32 years actually when she said this 33 years. But anyway, you got to invoke that magic number. So until his death in 2019, and I believe that I can provide the leadership which is needed. So here's.
It just clicked what you just said about the 33.
Right.
I was a little slow to I crawled into that one.
That can be a little bit she just the recording that she said it was like around the time that she's worked for him for that long, whatever. But it's like that's why that soundbite has a little bit more punching power, because I worked for them for the magic number of years. You know, I really know this man. I don't know if these guys are like anti-Masonic. I wouldn't be surprised. So let me play this here little video.
Diane Sayre. I'm Diane Sayre, candidate for U.S. Senate in 2022 for the state of New York. What qualifies me to represent the people of New York in the U.S. Senate is my 32-year association with the greatest economist and statesman the United States has yet produced, the late Lyndon H. LaRouche Jr. As he warned for many decades, we are now in the terminal phase of a breakdown of the transatlantic monetary and financial system. This was not caused by COVID-19, but the fact that COVID-19 became a pandemic is a result of this breakdown of the economic system. What is urgently needed is a meeting involving at least the presidents of the United States, Russia, and China, perhaps India, to establish a new Bretton Woods system. That means returning to fixed exchange rates. That means reinstating the Glass-Steagall Act in the United States and elsewhere, and bankrupting Wall Street and the speculative bubble. In the United States, that means nationalizing the Federal Reserve and issuing trillions of dollars of credit to build massive infrastructure like 43,000 miles of high-speed rail, nuclear power, but very importantly, investing in the space program and fusion research. Mankind is not an animal species. We need to elevate mankind to a new platform of economic development worthy of the dignity of humankind.
Okay, sorry to break it to you, but mankind is an animal species. No matter how impressive our intellectual capacity is, our use of language and whatnot, whatever, we're still goddamn animals. We always will be, unless the transhumanists have their way and convert us into some kind of like people on a fucking cloud in a quantum computer. All right? If that doesn't happen, we will always be animals, and that's not a bad thing. The problem is the way that this fucking like the human perception of animals as inferior and whatever, like not of equal rights as human beings, like no, like this is where people are really messed up on that kind of stuff, you know. So, but that's where like you can see people like Heidegger, the Nazi philosophers, whatever, they would kind of agree with me in that we are always animals, but they take it in a fucking dark ass. So we should act like animals in the woods or whatever instead of like try to be civilized. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's that Aristotelian worldview. Yeah, I found some really interesting like Aristotle versus Plato kind of reasoning at play underneath like all of this that we maybe want to sort through one day. But this stuff that they're saying, like the Atlanticist order, and they're like the Eurasianist response to the Atlanticist, whatever. That's interesting if you look into that. They're both like emergent responses to the threat, the specter of communism is one way that you could think of that. So, but the Atlantic order is like this, like Europe, the UK, like Canada and the United States, they should be natural allies or whatever. They need to maintain their economic power through alliance, right? The Atlantic Alliance. Eurasianists are the same kind of alliance as the Atlanticists, but it's like the Eurasian version. It's like the illiberal version, you know? That's it. I'll have to write about that too. But they're definitely, the Eurasianist is like this anti-communist, pro-capitalist, pro-imperialist kind of reactionary nonsense that has a particular intense hatred for the Atlanticists, but it's just capitalist, intercapitalist, whatever kind of warfare. So yes, and I did see that, and we would have maybe been talking about this had I not had this article ready. I just felt, I've been saying once I got it ready, I'm going to read it for you guys, and then we can get back to our regular schedule of programming. But I don't know if Abby heard, but there's a serious like race riot shit going down, and I bet you they're not telling you like this crucial little bit like catalyst, because this like Somali immigrant just randomly decides to stab this whatever white Irish guy for no fucking reason whatsoever. I feel like there's likely a racist comment that he made that maybe triggered that kind of reaction, and nobody's really able to talk about that little third rail there, because that whole go back to your country or whatever, when your country's a fucking shithole hell's like zone, war zone, and then you want a little taste of what that would be like. It would be something like getting stabbed for saying that kind of shit, because that's the kind of shit that happens in the more lawless countries that they're only lawless because of this colonial fucking constant attack on their ability to make their fucking nations, you know, viable. And so we can't talk about that. We have to talk about how unfair it was that this man was stabbed, whatever, and that these pogroms were started up about it in response. And we're not going to fucking talk about the law says that people who are trying to incite violence, like, let's go to the streets to get these people, round them up and set their houses on fire and fucking chase them out of our country. Or those people are inciting violence. You're supposed to lock those people up for that. So I guess it's okay. I guess we're allowed to do it too for all the reasons we think it's right. Right? We're going to have to talk about the fucking racist people in Ireland, in the UK, or whatever. They fucking... They're not going to like what their fucking world they're trying to invite in on themselves.
Mike, I have to, Black Life is about to take him home, and she needs me to put him in the car seat. So I'll be right back, okay?
Yep,
Thank you.
I'll just carry on here a little bit. Jack's saying, oh yeah, about 100 households had to be evacuated the other day in Coventry because they found an old UXB from the Second World War. I'm not sure what. Unexploded bomb. Okay. God damn. Yeah. And they think we're just like, we're going to ban like social media for the under 16s. I saw there's like a new bill in Canada being put forward about that. And in the UK, I don't know if they already passed it, but they're just going to ban the social media for the kids. And what? Like the adults, the fucking far right white nationalists like Tommy Robinson or whatever are free to use it to whip up race wars whenever they please, and banning it for the kids is going to accomplish anything other than an arms race with the kids. You know, they're obviously, it's not going to work at all. They're all going to make it on there anyways. Whatever. They know that. Just need an excuse to be fascist, right? So let me get back to this little article here. Abby might miss a little bit here. I'm sure she'll be back shortly. So this is the Executive Intelligence Review. This is the LaRoucheite publication that's been around for like 30, 40, 50, long fucking time, decades and decades. So they have plenty of evidence of their own unhinged behavior that they defend on the regular or whatever, because, you know, once you're committed to the bit, that's where I'd say this Diane Sayre is a prime example of one of these people that's so brainwashed that there is no going back. Okay, she spent 33 years on it. You cannot convince her that she is wrong. Okay, you cannot convince her that she needs rehabilitation. Diane Sayre, LaRouche independent candidate for U.S. Senator from New York, and Scott Ritter, a former Marine intelligence officer, former UN chief weapons inspector in Iraq, appeared on Cynthia Pooler's Albany, New York-based Issues That Matter with Cynthia on August 19th. That's just more like evidence of them working together. That's just one quick little screenshot, right? A final note on Diane Sayre before moving on concerns. Kash Patel. This was hilarious for me to find out. I kind of want Abby to be here for this. I don't want her to miss this because this is ridiculous. This is what I'm talking about. Like, they get to try and support Donald Trump and the people that get put into his administration. And they want to get us to go along with supporting people like this and act all outraged about the Epstein stuff. And somehow we're supposed to ignore that they are full of shit. Okay? So Diane's foot entered her mouth rather forcefully when she made the opportunistic, politically, ethically blind, deaf and dumb catastrophe of a decision to endorse the appointments of Islamophobic Hindu fascist Tulsi Gabbard and Epstein-class ass-covering, leash and collar-wearing ponyboy Kash Patel. I was a little bit inflammatory with my language, maybe being a little bit dramatic, but the LaRouche organization underwent a split starting in February 2019 following the death of Lyndon LaRouche over whether it should continue to advocate support for the Trump administration. It must also be remembered that it was in July 2019 that Jeffrey Epstein was finally arrested again when he returned to the U.S. from France. So while it is not something they will publicly acknowledge as the reason for the split or one of the reasons, while LaRouche himself may have wanted his organization to continue supporting Trump and crucially working with those around him, his wife must have seen the radioactive writing on the wall that comes with supporting Trump amid the Epstein files fallout. This was the translation of the article I found in French, because they have, LaRouche is a dangerous organization because they have like a reach all around the world. You know, they have the power of and the funding of an intelligence operation. That's where I'm saying, like, I could just kind of come out of like, these people are stupid for being LaRoucheites, but really what it is like, you guys are this is a psyop, you know? They just, you know, the clothing of this psyop is the LaRoucheite kind of conspiratorial nonsense. So the Liar's Office from January 21st, 2025. Who wants to prevent the confirmation of Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, and to hide what? We publish here a memorandum from the LaRouche organization regarding attempts to prevent the appointments of Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel. It is preceded by a covering letter addressed to the United States Senate by Diane Sayre, former candidate for the New York Senate and president of the LaRouche organization. It is significant that many of the individuals incriminated by Kash Patel in his book, Government Gangsters, are the same ones who are active in the Get LaRouche task force. Oh, so Kash Patel is who's going to fucking vindicate your narrative about you guys they coming after you for witch hunts, and it's totally unfair. And Kash Patel's got the fucking receipts, guys. And then after the fact or whatever, we got, I'm sure, like the DD Geopolitics kind of like Nick Cruz and RBN, they're going to be sitting there like, yeah, Kash Patel, that fucking Zionist pig. Well, pay attention to like your fucking your allies or whatever who are not defending him now, but were defending him then, you know? Like, what the fuck?
Oh, damn, what I miss?
Here, let me go back up a little bit here for you, because I was like, I don't want to like carry on too much, because I bet you Abby will like this part. So I said, a final note on Diane Sayre before moving on concerns Kash Patel. Diane's foot entered her mouth rather forcefully when she made the opportunistic, politically, ethically blind, deaf and dumb catastrophe of decision to endorse the appointments of Islamophobic Hinduತ್ವ fascist Tulsi Gabbard, an Epstein-class ass-covering, leash and collar wearing pony boy Kash Patel. So, I'm trying to be a little funny, I guess, but I should be the serious, not the joker. You know what I mean? I always.
No, you gotta make people laugh a little bit every now and again in the seriousness.
Well, she's made a fool of herself, so I'm gonna indulge a little bit. My bad. So, the LaRouche organization underwent a split starting in February 2019, following the death of Lyndon LaRouche, over whether it should continue to advocate support for the Trump administration. It must also be remembered that it was in July 2019 that Jeffrey Epstein was finally arrested again when he returned to the U.S. from France. And so while it is not something they will publicly acknowledge as the reason for the split, or one of the reasons, while LaRouche himself may have wanted his organization to continue supporting Trump and crucially working with those around him, excuse me, his wife must have seen the radioactive writing on the wall that comes with supporting Trump amid the Epstein files fallout. And this is from the Schiller Institute website, but this is the English translation of this French article that I found. The link is like right here, right? Institute Schiller. The Liar's Office, who wants to prevent the confirmation of Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and to hide what? From January 21st, 2025. We published a memorandum from the LaRouche organization regarding attempts to prevent the appointments of Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel. It is preceded by a covering letter addressed to the United States Senate by Diane Sayre, former candidate for the New York Senate and president of the LaRouche organization. It is significant that many of the individuals incriminated by Kash Patel in his book Government Gangsters are the same ones who were active in the Get LaRouche task force set up in the 1980s to eliminate Lyndon LaRouche, who had long been considered the only political opponent capable of provoking an articulated challenge to our American neoconservative politics and its project of world hegemony, except that LaRouche is a fucking neocon. So what the fuck are you trying to say there?
So wait, I want to make sure I'm not confused. So Diane Sayre endorsed both Tulsi and Kash Patel, correct?
Right.
Okay. Because then I thought, kind of felt like that says the opposite, so I got confused.
So just I'm saying, watch if they're trying to make claims today that they never really supported Trump, that's like they had a splinter, and there's this Barbara Boyd, I think I'm about to get into, and they're gonna be like, oh, she was the Trump loony, whatever, and the LaRouche organization is better off without those idiots, whatever. But they had to fight over their political action committee, right? So AIPAC's the one you got to really worry about. It's not as if there's like a whole bunch of fucking political action committees that are all like completely like in need of destruction. We need to destroy the ability, like the legal means to have political action committees. You want to hyper focus on AIPAC because Israel controls the world. You might be consuming some fascist talking points that seem like they're like anti-imperialist because they're anti-Zionist, but we hate Israel for very different reasons. I need people to understand that, okay? So Trump supporters include many common people who have not spent their lives. This is a quote, right? Trump supporters include many common people who have not spent their lives thinking about politics. But Promethean Pact's Barbara Boyd is not one of these. I would describe her as Trump's most powerful intellectual supporter. She really believes in Trump to the point of leading a splinter faction that broke from the original activist group centered around Lyndon LaRouche called LaRouche PAC, which he founded in the early 70s. Barbara was one of his original students. But Helga LaRouche, his wife and founder of the Schiller Institute, was a European lady. Okay, you had to I should have been trying to read this like this fucking tea drinking British man, if you understand the Duran guys, Alex Mercouris. So he's the guy his voice you need to read this with. Like Helga LaRouche, his wife and founder of the Schiller Institute, was a European lady who could not stand Trump's gross American behavior and manner of speech. He's sounds a little gay. I don't know.
Very demure. Very demure.
Anyway, I'd like to I used to listen to them a lot, whatever. Even though I knew they were conservatives, but I was like, oh, they're geopolitical analysts. There's not enough political shows wherever I'll watch them that been kind of recommended to me. But these guys are not your allies if you're a leftist. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna lead you down the garden, whatever primrose path. Okay, they're Eurasianists, all right, but they're sneaky. They got their own kind of sophisticated, whatever. They're not stupid, except for I think they're kind of stupid or whatever if they don't recognize that Helga LaRouche is a fucking Nazi. They're like not doing Nazi apologia for her right here. So I might want to retract the fact that I'm saying that I thought that they were smart. But anyway. But this is bullshit to me, right? Because they're acting like she was a European lady who could not stand Trump's gross American behavior and manner of speech. Except when she's praising Trump for his good taste when it comes to the neoclassical architecture style that all the Nazis love for some reason. Because I went and found a tweet. This is Helga LaRouche. Promising. Trump cited the Florence Duomo in Davos and now wants new federal architecture standards. Pierre L'Enfant, a 23-year-old French military engineer recruited by Mozart's Beaumarchais, joined Lafayette in the Revolution, later designed Washington. So these are like it's not even like petty bourgeois. Like, they want to be like bourgeois, all right? And they have like this, like LaRouche and Helga, like they want this return to like this classical kind of culture of like Schiller instead of like Hitler, kind of like the better kind of German, whatever, romantic kind of like I'll have to talk about romanticism and its relationship to fascism and whatnot, but there's that kind of cultural ethos that they have, you know. They think that the German, like there's some actual culture, like German culture, that like the Nazis weren't just a bunch of degenerates, you know, like there were some kind of cultured people that were misunderstood in a way. It's impossible to defend Nazis, so they don't defend Nazis, they defend LaRouche, who just so happens to basically act in a lot of ways that's very much like Mussolini and Hitler, right? He's been compared to them for a reason, you know what I mean? So let me get around to it. So even though Lyndon, this is still the quote from the Duran, even though Lyndon, who had campaigned for the president 8 times in his effort to bring the Democratic Party back to what it was under FDR, did suggest continuing supporting Trump as a possibility, he was over 90 years old by then, and he was clearly suffering from some mental decline. Yeah, from the gutter to the abyss is my words. Helga did not take him seriously, but Barbara did. This is where they're fucking lying to you, but this is my speculation. It's my opinion. I get that. It's my educated guess. So saying that Helga didn't take LaRouche seriously, that because he's saying Trump, that LaRouche wanted his people to support Trump, but his wife said, no, we're not going to do that. And I'm saying because she's fucking hearing about the Epstein shit coming out, and they're not going to fucking admit that part. But Barbara did, hearing all that Epstein stuff anyway, thinking that they can be the spin doctors, they can make it all go away, I guess. So she insisted on supporting Trump, which led to the split between Helga's group, called the LaRouche Organization, and Barbara's splinter group, now known as Promethean Pack. So that's from the Duran. There's a link. The cover letter ironically ends with, well, this is where maybe a bit, I should have edited that better or whatever. That's kind of a logical leap or whatever, a bit. Kind of maybe messed that up. But so the cover letter ironically ends with the rapid confirmation of Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence and Kash Patel as Director of the FBI would be the appropriate response to the lamentations and gnashing of teeth of those who have much to hide, when these LaRoucheites have all kinds of shit to hide. That's where I'm saying it's ironically ends with that. So I'm sure most Americans think the same. These fucking gaslighters. So this is where I just need to juxtapose this, right? Kash Patel, protector of the pedo king Trump, and who are you working with who are for all this time? Who do you gotta like? You gotta rehabilitate Scott Ritter, Mr. Sex Pest Scott Ritter. Okay, So long before I ever knew who Diane Sayre was, I was introduced time and time again to a man named Scott Ritter on podcast after podcast. Scott Ritter is a former military intelligence officer, UN weapons inspector, convicted sex offender, and conservative American foreign policy critic with a very long-winded career in ostensibly independent media spaces. Why the fuck you guys need to have this guy on every week on your circuit of whatever? It doesn't make any sense except for the fact that you guys are the intelligence community that is the status quo of protecting these fucking pedos or whatever. So we should not be listening to you at all. So a curious creature to find in the environs of anti-imperialistic communist and communist online organizing spaces, indeed. Given the clamor and justified public outrage over the Epstein files, as well as the Red Scare 3.0 we are indubitably going through, and the need for unity of Marxists, not unity between Marxists and opponents and distorters of Marxism, which is exactly what you guys argue for with your red-brown alliance bullshit that this is, while sitting there trying to claim at the same time out of both sides of your mouth that you're a Marxist-Leninist, whatever. I'm talking to you, American Communist Party, okay? Haz al-Din and Jackson Hinkle, they are way too in bed with the LaRoucheites, even though they are no longer LaRoucheites, but I got some, we'll get to it, whatever. They were definitely involved with them before. And so what happened when they ended up making it to the leadership of the Communist Party is you guys put the fucking LaRoucheites in charge because they said they weren't LaRoucheites anymore.
And didn't I'm trying to remember who it was, but Jacobin, which is like the Democratic Socialist media arm or what have you. Didn't they just recently do a hit piece?
Yeah, I've been hearing. I saw a little on Twitter that they're up in arms trying to be defending Chris Smalls because Jacobin did a hit piece on him.
That's who they did. They did a hit piece on Chris Smalls. That's right. I couldn't remember who.
And I'm not going to sit there going, no, Jacobin is like the real communist. The ACP guys are a bunch of assholes or whatever. No, Jacobin's trash, and so are the ACP. All right. But then they'll use.
I was just mentioning because that sounds like what you were talking about the ACP, and I'm like, the DSA is. Do you think they're kind of LaRouche?
I haven't looked into whether there's. I don't know. I don't think that their problem isn't exactly LaRoucheism. Whatever their problem is. Like this is the upsetting thing of like I was agreeing with the ACP that the Communist Party was kind of like delinquent or whatever. It's degenerated, right? It was not a viable Communist Party anymore. The right thing was to do was create a new party, whatever, but not putting in Hinkle and Haas in charge. You know, I just don't think anybody understood who they were, or if people were saying I was not the first person to say those guys are LaRoucheites or whatever online, but then the way that they use these like cultish tactics to discredit anybody who says anything criticism about them, like it's important for them to do a witch hunt against someone like me or whatever if I try and expose them. You know what I mean? So we'll see how this goes. But they definitely, if you want to be a real fucking Marxist, if you want to fix the problems of Western Marxism, whatever, we have to fight these people or whatever if they want to be going down this path, right? We did the part where we tried to say, hey, stop working with them, listen to us, work with us, whatever. We got to, build bridges with the indigenous and the black community in this thing, whatever, and kind of let them do what they want instead of tell them what to do, like, because that's what the kind of chauvinist white Marxist thing to do, whatever. And then no. we got the Marxist Leninist line where we know what we're doing, whatever. We're gonna go get in bed with the Eurasianists, whatever. That's exactly what we should do. So let's get back to it here because I got a lot more to get.
Scott Ritter has to say.
Yeah, and this is where he says enough stupid shit that I would just not want to fucking. I don't know how you work with this person without having a goddamn argument with him every day. So I've been a conservative leaning registered Republican my entire adult life. My vote, however, is earned, not given. I voted for Republican and Democratic candidates alike over the years. It sounds like he's probably going to vote harder to fix the problem. I don't know. I've also been a huge Bruce Springsteen fan my entire life. His music, especially his lyrics, have appealed to me from day one. If you read his lyrics, they're literally touching on the same themes J.D. Vance espoused in his book Hillbilly Elegy. Oh, yeah, there's our principled unity among Marxists. Working class Americans abandoned by the money to lead. You're listening to J.D. Vance. You understand that the fascists have this revolutionary appeal too, you know? Which is why Bruce's announcement that he will be leaving the United States for Australia if Trump is reelected is puzzling. Yeah, why the fuck would anyone want to leave America or whatever? Because Trump will be reelected. That's such a ridiculous idea. I mean, whether Trump was reelected or not, there's plenty of people who are fucking beyond rational, like super rational, to understand that America is a fucking sinking ship of cannibal rats. Get the fuck away.
I can't believe he just said that. J.D. Vance, Trump's pick for vice president, is the personification of the American Springsteen sang about. In what world?
This is your American exceptionalism shit.
Because he wrote a stupid book about trying to act like he's the, you know, the everyday American just like you. They all try to make us feel that way. But they're not. They are plucked from obscurity on purpose. Oh my gosh.
Right. And I don't know what Bruce Springsteen is, if he's a social democrat or what, but that's definitely something that the progressivists like to fucking do.
He has some shit with him too.
They like to try and sit there and act like they are like working class people too, but they sit there with their mansion and their millions, if not billions, and they sit there. Well, I came from working class place, whatever. At some point, it's like, doesn't fucking matter. Anyway.
Yeah. So Scott Ritter, his criminal record was from like from a pedo thing or something, right?
Yeah, I
something
had
with a young girl.
I put up the little receipt here. NBC News, ex-UN inspector gets prison in Pennsylvania sex case. I don't know what the a former United Nations weapons inspector convicted in an online sting has been sentenced up to 5.5 years. So I think he must not have served the whole thing.
It's not.
I don't know exactly when that was. That was like, I should have put I didn't make a big enough screenshot. But if you click the link, you'll find what year the article was. If it might have already been 5.5 years ago. But I thought he had been convicted twice. I didn't go looking for it. Someone told me that he was convicted not once, but twice for that shit. So as far as like, how do you get out of prison for that, whatever? You make a deal, whatever. So now you have even double motivation not to work with him because he's maybe on good behavior with the feds or whatever, so that he has light fucking treatment for his convicted sentence. It's how they fucking make informers, isn't it?
He says, and now Springsteen is turning his back on that which he once seemed to champion. What? This is crazy.
What's up, Cobra? I didn't know. I remember his song about 16-year-old girls.
Cobra.
Yeah, there. Yeah, I didn't. That
Bruce
might explain.
Springsteen?
I didn't. I'm gonna take your word for it, Cobra, whatever. But maybe that explains why Scott is so heartbroken over Springsteen's betrayal. bird of a feather. Anyway, so yeah, what was it?
I just read the and now part. So I will still listen to Springsteen. That's where you are.
Okay, I will still listen to Springsteen. His music is an important part of the soundtrack of my life. Yeah, but I will never again conflate his lyrics with the man who wrote them. Far from being the bard of the working class American, Bruce Springsteen has become a pillar of the moneyed elite who have brought America to the sad place it currently occupies. Enjoy Australia, boss, because baby, you were born to run. You just gotta. Scott's such a fucking clown, whatever. Sorry. And then here he is at the Schiller Institute with Helga, you know. We'll
And
get more
he's
to
like-
explain.
He like does the circuits in independent media.
He's
he's very much all through there. Savvy
very
Savs has
welcome.
him on all the time.
What I'm fucking saying, he's way too welcome on all these places who are so fucking radical, right? There's like so much more revolutionary than I am. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
what have I done? You know, I wrote this or whatever, but I haven't done enough mutual aid. You know, because I don't, whatever. You know, I would love to do.
Do you
I do
think it's
mutual aid.
because so oh sorry, I didn't cut
No,
you off.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, like, because of his conviction, like he can't go back to, like, there's certain jobs he's not going to be hired at anymore, possibly. I don't know, because it seems like being a pedo is acceptable in the United States now and in high places. So he probably could get a job at the government again. Maybe, I don't know. But I was just wondering, like, maybe these people are using his former expertise um, because he's fallen down, he's fallen so low, and other people aren't going to come on their shows to offer up this kind of information. What do you think about that?
Maybe that's totally plausible. I mean, a lot of people with criminal records, they can't really get a job, and so what people think maybe they're keeping them off the streets or something. Like,
No, read this.
yeah, I saw that. I've seen Eric T ban people who bring Scott shit up. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was that bad. You know, like, how the fuck do you sit there arguing like you talk about the politics of the people when the people speak and they say we don't want this? You say I don't care. Fuck you. No, fuck you, motherfucker. This is a thing. People like, we get the power that YouTube gives us. We can ban whoever we want, whatever. Don't let that go to your head, okay? There's some psychological conditioning that happens to all of us when we try to use this YouTube or the social media or whatever, like, because they give us the tools to ban each other, whatever, and that stuff, it definitely, there's a divide and conquer aspect to that. It's not just like we're doing that because it would be so much worse if you didn't have that capacity or whatever. There's too much Schadenfreude
That's
involved.
interesting. Well, Eric refuses to come on our show because I think him and Mastermind Hour got into it. I don't even know what they got into it about.
I don't know.
I have no idea, and he was just like, "No, I'm not coming back to discuss any more demands." And I'm like, "What the hell does that have to do with me?"
That's fine, you know.
I don't even know what y'all got into it about. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I had been, you know, for the longest time, I was hoping to be able to continue to work with these guys. I still kind of, part of me still wants to maybe one day in an imperfect world, we can still find a way to work together. But I really feel like if they're ever gonna work, they owe us a fucking apology and a half. All right, like,
There is a lot of tea in the chat.
That's what I'm saying. RBM was fine until they let these people stick their tongues in their ears. RBM was fine until Nick let Jackson Hinkle and Sarah Bills give him money, and they're out there slithering Nazi ideology. Yeah, I'm sorry. Now they're definitely Sarah Bills. I didn't really put her in this article very much. I didn't go into detail on her, but she's this is the thing. There's too many ex-military, like, so-called ex-intelligence people that you're working with here. Like,
did you see the one from Sean?
Because she was like an ex-Navy girl or officer.
Well, I don't know what that is.
But it's like they acted like she got kicked out of the Navy because of her social media comments about the Donbass. But to me, like, that's creating the cover to put someone, whatever, to put an asset into play. So I really don't. She's like, they're very good at making jokes about how whatever. Oh, you paranoid, whatever, Fed jacket or whatever. No, she's highly, like, credible as a potential fucking plant in this.
What's her name? Sarah what?
Sarah Bills, Bills. This is where, if you were dumb enough to go, like, join the American military in the first place, and you think you're going to come out of it, and some of us are going to look at you sideways and not trust you for the rest of your life or whatever, too fucking bad. because the American military's crimes are well known for decades now, or whatever, and you don't have any right to go fucking, like, what, you're going to get the skills from the military and you're going to use them against the empire? Yeah, fucking right. I don't see any of you guys doing that. What I see is the fascists using the military to get the skills to prepare for a race war. I don't see leftists really effectively joining the military and then being anti-imperialist after the fact. I would like those ex-military, like, the only one I have hope in now, like, is Marcus from the Political Matrix. But that maybe it would be a bigoted thing for me or whatever to be like, oh, if you're ex-military, I'm not going to work with you or whatever. But it's fucking prudent as far as operational security is concerned, because just like the ex-CIA people, just because they've officially been discharged, how the fuck do you know that they're ex-military? Take their word for it, basically. And even if they are officially ex-military, they're usually plugged in still. They still communicate with the people that they used to serve with. And in that sense, they're kind of like vulnerable, whatever, for manipulation, right? And information extraction, whether they're fucking giving it out consciously or not. So.
Jeez. Oh, there's some gossipers in this chat.
I've been missing some stuff. Like, yeah, Jen Perlman.
I think
she's pretty funny too, whatever.
Oh, I just wanted to respond to you about.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just, before I said that, I should have responded to you about Political Matrix. Yeah, because a lot of people went to the military for reasons of poverty, and also a lot of people didn't have the same understanding, you know, like, I don't know.
It's complicated, right?
Like,
I mean,
they believed the propaganda that was being fed to them, and then like Jolly Good Ginger, I think he said he actually did believe the propaganda being fed to them until he actually got in the military and saw what they were really doing.
Yeah, but then how many of them are unwilling to believe the propaganda of the communists, you know? And they're happy to admit how the military like ruined their life and everything. But how many like homeless war vets are literally still like libertarian conservatives, whatever? They're still brainwashed in a lot of ways. And it's fucking sad. Like, there's a lot of anti-war libertarians who are kind of they're politically ignorant, to put it politely, even though they personally experienced or whatever being used to the worst degree or whatever.
So Jacqueline says, weren't the people who started the Russian Revolution ex-military though? Now, this may also be a good point.
Well, this is where if you really want a revolution, you might have to work with, get your hands bloody, whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to give you an example that happened just last week or this week. So some psycho racist man, this black family was having a family reunion. Elderly people, young people, you know, and everything in between, outside minding their own business. This deranged man like stops and is like screaming at them, hurling racial epithets and stuff like that. And, you know, of course it upset them, but he left, so they went about their whatever. He went home, put on like military vest and all, whatever, came back with an AR-15 and just started shooting at them. Okay, you could be like a sitting duck. Well, one of the people who was there is an ex-Marine, and he said my military training kicked in, and he shot the man and made him, and none of his family got hurt. Like, none of his bullets landed with an AR-15. So like, some of these people don't even know how to know how to shoot. They just have the guns, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all he had was a handgun and stopped him. But he said my military training kicked in, and I think he was talking about how he was like moving from place to place to get closer to him, you know, like so he could get a clear shot.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it is kind of important to have that, like,
Sure. Yeah.
have some kind of militia training, or else you're just going to be like pissing in the wind when you really need to defend yourself.
But the problem is for us to, what we need to do is have the independent training that's not really like getting, like relying on the military experts in the first place in order to build our military expertise. And if you really do that, then you have like an independent military organization that the state's not going to allow within its borders. So there is like a really serious tension there that we should probably do like a show on one day. Like,
Yeah, because it's kind of weird. Because where does the training?
You know,
it's like, where's the training going to come from, right? Like it's kind of weird. Like,
and not like I would be happy to kind of try and do some of that training. Like I'd be healthier, I have to quit certain habits in order to like be able to commit to that kind of thing. But you can't start with like the training, whatever. You have to start with the economics, because you're not even going to be able to afford to do the training unless you can plan organizationally how to train how many people or whatever. Like it's not just yourself that you need to be training, you know, it's the whole community. And then I don't know, like that. We're getting a bit.
a
I
little
got a
off
lot more.
topic.
Let's get back to the article. Yeah, we can go on too much.
But it was important. That was important.
Yeah. We'll come back to that one day. Scott Ritter is a co-founding member of the Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, along with Ray McGovern, John Kiriakou, and Larry C. Johnson, among others, all of them making regular media appearances within the circuit of podcasts that are the subject of this article. So Scott Ritter's enough to kind of clue you in to like, why is Savvy have Scott on so much? But then you look, when you learn who Ray McGovern and Larry Johnson are, you see that she has them on a lot too. And it's that's not what you call independent media. So, and these guys, ask them directly, somebody, when they're on some other fucking, when on your channel, and you're interviewing, ask them if they're socialists. I want to hear them say out loud that they're not, or that they are. I want to see them pretend that they are. All of them making regular media appearances within the circuit of podcasts that are the subject of this article. So VIPS is a group of current and former officers of the United States intelligence community formed in January 2003 in response to the Bush administration's lies about WMDs in Iraq. There is a significant and well-documented connection between the VIPS and the LaRouche movement, primarily facilitated through the Schiller Institute. So if they weren't connected, then why is Ray McGovern and Scott Ritter, Larry Johnson and them, whatever, appearing on Schiller Institute, whatever stuff? They're going to have some kind of sophisticated excuse for you, I guess. I hope the irony of a group calling themselves Professionals for Sanity, unironically working hand in hand with the batshit LaRouche cult, is not missed on anyone. Okay. The most concrete evidence of the connection is the regular participation of VIPS members, especially Ray McGovern, as featured speakers at conferences and events organized by the Schiller Institute. Ray McGovern is even a close friend of Julian Assange, having been one of the most vocal and visible public defenders of Assange during that notoriously sordid prosecution. Visiting him during his isolation in the Ecuadorian embassy, McGovern presented him with the Sam Adams Associate for Integrity and Intelligence Award in 2010, an award which McGovern himself created, as well as the organization behind it. I say all of this to say that LaRoucheites, much like current and former intelligence officials, have an obscene habit of sticking their fingers in everyone's pies. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's right. Because another thing we'll get into later about Julian Assange, I felt it was kind of bringing him up, because when we get to Roger Stone, there was also a claim by Roger Stone that he had a back channel to Julian Assange, you know, and that's where, as great as Assange was, the fact that he's a libertarian has contradictions that result in consequences, you know. If only someone like Assange was an actual socialist instead of the libertarian, I wonder how things would have gone instead. So So this is Ray McGovern here, along with Jose Vega and Scott Ritter on Diane's whatever channel. She's running for president. She's never going to get it, whatever. She's going to get like 0.1% of the vote. They're not really in it to win it. They're just in there, whatever, to collect whatever tax breaks they can be for being in the organization they are, kind of shit, whatever. Like, it's not vanguardism if you got the horse inside the cart being driven by an idiot. So now we're getting to the ACP. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of this LaRoucheite influence on the communist movement in the United States is the affiliations of the inaugural chairman of the relatively new American Communist Party, Haz al-Din, split off from the admittedly defunct CPUSA, an executive board member of the plenary council of the ACP, Jackson Hinkle. Both have at least past connections to the LaRouche movement, which ought to be troubling for those American communists espousing a communist vanguard as the best, if not only real solution to the contradictions facing the working class of America, not a LaRouchian vanguard that is more likely interested in using the communist movement as a sheepskin or Trojan horse to advance their ultimately anti-communist agenda. So this was a graphic from the LaRouche organized, the Schiller Institute. And here, what is this? Helga LaRouche, Jackson Hinkle, Daniel Burke, Diane Sayre, Haz al-Din. And you'll see if you go looking for evidence of Haz's connections to the LaRoucheites, there's some scrubbed evidence here. This is one of the few bits of evidence that I could find. And Samira Khan, now I understand why she's so important to people on Twitter or whatever. She's a part of this fucking bullshit too. She's one of these like, more like, I don't know if she's talked about being a trad wife, but that's what she kind of comes across to me as. Where she's like one of those conservative, kind of socially conservative women that's so much more revolutionary than us, whatever. But I think you might be a fascist, you know? I don't know.
So, there's a compliment I wanted to read to you. Well, you can read it.
Yeah, Nyla, I just go off my gut with people. You've shown me that I'm still a good judge of character. Yeah, this is where, good job, you know? Not everyone has those good guts as you, because, I mean, I kind of, early on, I started to have bad gut feelings about these people, and then kind of carried on trying to make it work with them even longer than I should have, which was already years ago that I gave up on these guys completely. Like,
I was like trying to figure out like all these people's origin stories. Like, they just popped out of nowhere and they have all these followers and all, like, for example, okay, I know Midas Touch is an organization. The guy, Adam Mockler, this has nothing to do with the LaRouche thing. This just is an example. Like, he dropped out of college, kind of the same Charlie Kirk story. He dropped out of college, and then now he's like on MSNBC, on CNN all the time as a contributor. He has like, I don't know how many followers, like millions. And I'm just like, where did he come from? He's like 23 years old or something like that.
Yeah, that's like Jackson Hinkle. He's got like millions of followers on Twitter. And he's
Jackson Hinkle, like, where'd you come from?
and him and Haz, they like to make trips to like Russia or like going to the Donbass, you know, that, what do you call it, disaster tourism, you know? We're going to go to Lebanon. We're going to act like we're really part of the resistance, you know, but you're part of these Schiller Institute shills.
Yeah, it's very suspicious. Somebody said in the chat that, somebody said Savvy, I don't know where it went.
Savvy's husband.
No, yeah, but even before that. Okay. So sorry.
Yeah, that's where I actually didn't realize how much I kind of agree with this now with you, Sean. Apparently, she was sent to ruin RBN because she was like, she's I don't know if she's trained for this shit or whatever, but if she was, she's really fucking good at it, at coming across as not an operative, you know, not like a honeypot, but. Well, she wouldn't strictly fit the bill for a honeypot, though, because what you're saying is Sab's husband works for a military contractor, can't be revolutionary with that conflict of interest. I was wondering who her husband is. You go looking into it, I find that she's
very private about it.
got the privacy skills of someone who's been trained how to be more private than the average
Yeah.
person. All right.
Yeah, how the
So
hell?
your
How the hell
military
you
husband,
keep?
the LaRouche people, they're well embedded in the military. Okay, a lot of their supporters come from the military. That's where Anthony Aguilar is a great example too, right? So I bet you her fucking husband got her into this shit. And does she come from Germany or whatever? I was looking into it a little bit. I seemed like it was a maybe rumor.
I think
to
she was
dismiss.
born in,
If she was born in Germany,
or she
and
lived
her-
in Germany for a long time because her dad was in the military.
if she was in like, there's a LaRouche people that have a big thing with like Germany, Wiesbaden, Germany is where, or Wiesbaden, I don't know, is where Helga and fucking LaRouche got married, and right, and where he went to this city to pursue her, kind of thing, like, and
Mm.
so I feel like it's one of the, if it's not their central headquarters is Germany, it might be in the States or whatever, but it's certainly one of their secondary whatever headquarters, kind of thing, like, it's where it's
But
maybe.
I bet it's so private because then there's gonna be this connection that is gonna like could possibly be like the aha moment about it. I don't know. I'm
There's
just
a lot of
saying
that
stuff,
stuff we have to pull back on, because I don't know, like,
so I can't be accusing, you know.
Germany, if she was in Germany, whatever, who her husband is. So because they've successfully covered that information, we have to do our best to just to not say things we don't know, we can't prove. So, but there's enough circumstantial evidence.
But I can't speculate.
Yeah, exactly. There's enough circumstantial evidence for me to suggest that you're not trustworthy, at least.
Sean says Jackson Hinkle's father was on NPR like 3 times or something like that. So
Right, and if
that
they're
makes
not
me
the
want to
ones
go
that are
look and
military,
see
that's
who
the
his
other
father
thing.
is.
If your kids are, if it's not the person directly that's ex-military or ex-intelligence or whatever, you look into their parents and you often find that they are ex-military. Hinkle was picked where a dude might run for office one day or go to prison for some hilarious crime. Can go either way for the young bourgeoisie. Yeah, he seems like he could have been one of these nuisance streamers, but he's managed to get plugged in with like the whatever intelligence community. So
Is she talking about bad cookies?
oh, I didn't know Savvy
It was
rant.
cookies.
Did Savvy's rant about cookies or whatever? Wouldn't surprise me.
Is that bad cookies or?
Nick's Cruz rant against CJ and then later JB and Savvy's rant against cookies really put me off, and I went from watching them regularly to watching them on occasion and not really watching them at all. That's where they handled that shit very badly, just like they handled the situation with us very badly. And then
Oh, she said yes.
yeah.
She's talking about bad cookies.
Well, maybe if there's like someone can share with that video with me, I would like to see her, why she felt the need to attack cookies, because like you're saying about banning people for criticizing Scott Ritter, a lot of these people, if you touch on these sensitive issues or whatever, the dog, whatever, a hit dog will holler, and that's what that's really actually about. They're guilty and they're only complaining, they're only criticizing us because we're onto something, and then they're trying to get us to shut up or whatever before we expose them. So, but it doesn't matter. We'll do all of this, expose them effectively, and then they're going to carry on, and other people will reject what we have to say, and they're going to keep this group, whatever, of ignorant, useful idiots. So don't be one of them.
There's so many. I was trying not to show all of these because I didn't seem like I was being super messy. You know what I mean?
That's okay. I got to get back to the article. It's already almost 2 hours in already. So
okay.
But how the fuck do you, on your political show, tell someone no more politics? Ridiculous. Okay. Jackson Hinkle's connection is perhaps more clear.
Oh, this.
Sorry.
That's it. This.
Yeah. I read that out earlier, but spelling error messed me up a bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Jackson Hinkle's connection.
So Jackson Hinkle's connection is perhaps more clear, but potentially less sinister. So let us begin with him. Hinkle hasn't really publicly endorsed Diane Sayre or the LaRouche party since around 2022. Coincidentally, the same time when MAGA communism became a thing and the year Russia invaded Ukraine, and the MAGA, like the Political Action Committee was formed. And so that's where I kind of wonder if that's where they get
MAGA communism.
They created MAGA communism at the same time that Russia and Ukraine, at the same time that the MAGA Political Action Community Committee was created. It's all very much suspicious.
Isn't that an oxymoron?
Pointing at suspicious timing is not really enough of a smoking gun, but it's just worth pointing out. This is when it seems, if we give the benefit of the doubt, that there was either a falling out, a parting of ways, or more likely, in my opinion, a decision was made to downplay, obfuscate any past or present direct connections due to the controversial and politically indefensible nature of these opportunistic parrots, peacocks, and chameleons. So this is what I'm talking about. They want to act like a bunch of like immature, childish fools to try and appeal to the Gen Z, like completely politically ignorant teenager, whatever, morons. And that's what they're going to use to build their base, and then criticize us for being overly principled and whatnot, whatever. But this, you can't like get away with this kind of dumb shit, whatever, and not have it come back to bite you in the ass. So here, I hope it is here biting your ass today, right? Like, what is this?
Is it okay if I read?
Let me play is like from the. I'm just saying, from the mouth of babes, right? When they say it themselves or whatever, when they reveal themselves to you, believe them, right? That's this here. Just listen to Haas. Oh, my bad.
With the 10. Holy fuck, Aztec with the 10. Yeah, bro. Wait, let's see how you look from this end. Yeah, you look good from it.
Exonerate LaRouche.
Why'd you say that, Jackson? Why'd you say that? Oh, but you're the principal communist, right? You're the enemy of the Soviet Union, right? You talk big up. You know, you really love to talk about Stalin and how we should all learn about the Soviet Union and how important it is that that theory not be fucking thrown out with the bathwater or whatever. But LaRouche completely contradicting the theories of the Soviet Union or whatever. Let's exonerate him and let's not push back with Jackson. Let's have a nice fucking laugh about it so that we get some donations from some idiots. No, I'm taking things too seriously here or whatever. They're probably gonna like laugh whatever. If they ever make a response to this or whatever, it would be kind of funny to see them roasting me, because I'm sure that they are just gonna look at this guy, what a fucking faggot, you know what I mean? Like that's
Bro,
Okay.
listen, your shit, your setup is so clean that I feel ashamed to like show my chest hair.
He's just preening.
You know what I mean?
For fucking peacock.
Can I like
Go
read
ahead.
a little bit about I've never heard of MAGA communism, but then again, I didn't watch Jackson Hinkle. I would see him on the Jimmy Dore show, but that's about the extent of my knowledge of Jackson Hinkle. It was on that show.
He's such an
So,
obvious
I've
fucking
never
off.
heard of MAGA communism.
Yeah, it's
It
ridiculous.
says it's a fringe syncretic political ideology that merges Marxist-Leninist terminology with right-wing populist and conservative nationalist rhetoric.
It's
The label game,
red-brown shit.
that's weird. That's like an oxymoron. The label
Right,
gained prominence
syncretism.
through Jackson Hinkle and Haas, who later founded the American Communist Party. Can I just say the core ideologies?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
It's relevant.
movement
I
attempts to-
haven't explained it, and if
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I don't know, I'm sure somebody out there that's going to
So
watch doesn't know.
I probably should have included it in the article or whatever a little bit, but it's got too much information in there already. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. They could Google it, if they're reading the article. But the movement attempts to bridge gaps between the far left and far right by uniting the working class against perceived globalist elites and corporate power. The platform represents a complex mix of contradictions. Economic policy, pro-working class and pro-social services combined with anti-corporate, anti-globalist, and pro-tax cut rhetoric. Like, how is that possible?
It basically it becomes incoherent because what they're trying to do is they're trying to unite the like the philosophy of the right wing with the philosophy of the Marxists. They're trying to syncretism, wherever they're trying to find a way to synthesize the right wing with the left wing. That's what I'm saying. It's just red-brown alliance bullshit.
And then with no taxes.
And it fucks everybody up or whatever, confuses everyone. It doesn't actually accomplish what it claims to. And then they double down and say you're the idiot or whatever who made it. It didn't work because you didn't support it. Like
social values, distinctly socially conservative, often heavily promoting traditional values while being explicitly anti-feminist, anti-LGBTQ, and anti-woke. So that basically means anti-black. But
so their willingness to embrace that and all that comes with that
they
anti-woke
could just say
stuff,
anti-black.
That's what I'm saying. You could just say pro-Nazi because that's the slippery slope that they stepped on, and now they still think that they can sit there and defend themselves as the one true communist movement. All you people are just jealous or whatever. I'm the real Slim Shady, and then right, but they've completely invalidated themselves by they opened the door to the Nazi philosophies by being so like enthusiastically anti-woke. Like what you were trying to do at first was we're trying to talk to the people who are anti-woke, whatever, because we don't need to alienate them and like dehumanize them for being anti-woke. But then what did you do, whatever? You decided to drink the Kool-Aid. You decided that they're right and we are wrong.
So foreign policy, staunchly anti-interventionist, anti-imperialist, and supportive of foreign powers opposing the U.S. hegemony, such as China, Russia, and North Korea. This is I'm not going to, well, it's just 4 more points, and I think they're important. Their perspectives and controversy. The movement's view, promoters of the label argue that the Make America Great Again base shares an underlying anti-capitalist working class sentiment that can be harnessed for communist mass politics.
This is where I think this is ridiculous for the ACP people of all people to not understand the history of the fascist anti-capitalist appeal to the working class. Where they have some dog whistles, whatever, that we can't embrace or whatever and put to use to accomplish communism, whatever, because the point of them is to appeal to brainwash people into a fascist response to capitalism instead of communism. So they think conservatives will become communists. They see communists calling folks retarded and gay faggots. And it will be beautiful the day that it dawns on them that this has accomplished fucking nothing except for counterproductive, whatever, sabotage of your own movement.
Oops.
But it'll be the sunk cost fallacy. When you go that far into it, whatever, dying on the hill that communists can be bigots and it's more revolutionary than a communist who's not a bigot, you're never going to admit that you were wrong. I would love to see it. It's like these people like Jackson Hinkle and Diane Sayre are claiming to be communists while going out of their way to put off as many people from communism as possible. So Jackson Hinkle, this is where it gets a little confusing. I'm pretty sure Diane Sayre would never claim to be a communist. I think she would probably try to do the things of, let's not be tribal guys, whatever. There's some good things. We can be eclectic. We can take some of the things from the communists and not actually put their revolutionary theory into action. It's the only way it works is if you kind of actually embrace the whole theory in a way. But you want to try and pick and choose what sort of communist tactics to apply, you're not really being communist, whatever. You're kind of doing what Mussolini did. You're saying, I thought they had some good ideas, whatever, but I think that these people over here have even better ideas. And then you go get in bed with Dugin. He's very much, you know what I mean? So,
but this is interesting because I kind of said this already. So it says mainstream criticism. Critics and political scientists often categorize the ideology as a political oxymoron or a rebranding of reactionary and neo-fascist talking points. Leftist criticism. Traditional left-wing organizations like the Communist Party USA heavily reject the movement, citing its socially regressive stances and support for far-right personalities. Rightist criticism. Right-leaning observers argue that the movement's focus on nationalized industries, state control of investment, and tariffs acts as MAGA Maoism, which undercuts free market principles.
This is exactly
that's
the thing.
it.
They're never even going to work with you anyway. You want to extend the fucking olive branch to the right wing. You want to say, you guys, all if you just finally recognize that American communism is a real thing or whatever, and it's actually going to help you or whatever, they fucking hate communists, right? So they're just not going to take you seriously, whatever, when you say that the state, whatever, capitalism is going to work in America. They'd rather die than let that happen. But you go ahead and try and make an alliance with them. See how that works out for you. I got to get back to reading a bit more here.
Yep, that was it. I just wanted, for people who didn't know, now you know.
Sounds good. So this is from the Executive Intelligence Review, the LaRouche publication from 2022, saying he was right. So at some point, Hinkle was very much on board with LaRouche. And then maybe somebody go ask him or whatever why he decided he's no longer a LaRoucheite. See what he says. So, if we carry out a content analysis of Hinkle's podcast Legitimate Targets and do background checks on the guests, he's brought on, it becomes fairly clear that there is, or it is best understood perhaps as an ongoing collaboration or working relationship with the LaRouche movement, Ron Paul-style libertarianism, MAGA, and international BRI multipolaristas. This is where I was actually genuinely very saddened to find out a lot of these multipolar advocates might be being used by the worst kind of people. So if we break down the guests that Jackson has brought on to his show into 4 categories of confirmed LaRoucheites, fellow traveler, network activists, shared ecosystem guests, and non-specified unconfirmed, we get a spread of about 8% LaRoucheites, 6% fellow travelers, 77% shared ecosystem, and 9% unconfirmed, which to me just looked too much like the Pareto principle of the 80-20, whatever. If you want to look that up, it's 80%.
80-20 rule?
80% of the problems are caused by 20% of the whatever people or whatever, something like that. And so I labeled this spooky Pareto action at a distance or whatever, because while it might have been more damning to find like 80% LaRoucheites or whatever, that's not subtle enough, right? Hinkle's supposed to be to the public, like in 2026, he's not supposed to be a confirmed official LaRoucheite, so he has to be like undercover, right? So on his channel, he's not going to have LaRoucheite every day, whatever, but he has them on so often that they are on repeat on his channel more often than any other guest. So he has like most of the guests that he's having on are not LaRoucheites. They're the shared ecosystem people. But that's kind of like the important part. You need them to get like the normies in, and then you have these cherry-picked experts that you have on more often than everyone else, and that kind of amplifies the LaRouche message while coming across as just another podcast or a Marxist-Leninist podcast in the sense of the legitimate targets or whatever. So one salient fact, however, is that the confirmed LaRoucheites and fellow travelers reappear multiple times, more often than any other types of guests, which creates an amplification effect, giving their arguments extra airtime and therefore weight. Chris Halali's been on 8 times, Anthony Aguilar 11 times, Scott Ritter 6 times, for example. Chris Halali is not what I would consider a confirmed LaRoucheite. He is better described as a fellow traveler. However, his deeply hypocritical and shameful behavior concerning his daughter and her mother echoes a grotesque sentiment he apparently shares with LaRouche himself. I'm getting into some fucking personal attacks here on Mr. Halali. He is a deadbeat dad. He decided to abandon his girlfriend when she got pregnant because he wanted to go be a revolutionary in Greece and Syria, fighting with the anarchists instead of being there to take care of his pregnant girlfriend that he said he loved. And then he basically came up with reasons not to support her, did everything he could to abandon her and to gaslight her and make it sound like it was his fault and shit. So yeah, it's pretty gross of me to whatever kind of publicly expose you for that shit, but it's pretty fucking disgusting of you to be a person like that. You are not a fucking revolutionary. Okay, you're not a comrade. If you cannot take care of your fucking baby that you had out of wedlock, Mr. Religious Conservative, whatever, my values are important to me, you fucking fraud.
So Jacqueline's going to sleep. Good night, Jacqueline. And dropping me, Macy just pulled up.
What's up, Macy? Yeah, go ahead. This is like pretty scandalous bullshit. And then this is what I'm saying. And you guys are the fucking proud men who want to work hand and want to continue to validate a man like this and make sure he has a space to operate with or whatever. No guilt by association with you when you fucking work with Christopher Halali, eh? Watch this fucking, it's super long. We can't get into it, whatever. Socialism for All, pretty good channel. Yeah. That was some bullshit that I found, but that's where I maybe missed the quote, because this is where I'm saying he echoes a grotesque sentiment he apparently shares with LaRouche himself. Because LaRouche, as if he doesn't have enough bad things, wherever he's also like a misogynist, whatever, like anti-feminist kind of was one of the other things that is the reason why we can't support his legacy. So women are the Achilles heels of revolutionaries, the cause of impotence. Women turn men into deviants, queers, and schlemiels. That is from LaRouche, right? That's the kind of shit that he writes. That's why people call him a conspiracist, whatever, a cultist, whatever, because he's just one of these fascist assholes, whatever, who just gaslights people about what, like, the value and the power of women in society and stuff like that, right? Sometimes you can't just watch the company you keep. You have to watch the company they keep. Anthony Aguilar and Scott Ritter are undeniably LaRoucheites. Halali, Has, Hinkle, and the ACP will undoubtedly deny, delay, and depose any accusations as spurious, unjust, personally or politically motivated, etc. However, the main thrust of my argument in this article is that you cannot be a vanguard party and be a tail of the LaRouche movement at the same time. However, it is not just Jackson Hinkle's channel where we find this network of association with LaRoucheites. There's a whole network of channels on YouTube and probably other platforms too, which are ostensibly independent media who wittingly or unwittingly are platforming LaRoucheites, not just every once in a while, but on the daily. And here I included Nima Al-Rashid's Dialogue Works, Matt Ehret's Pluralia Dialogos, Glenn Deason and Jamal Thomas's shows are also part of this network, although they have not been included in the graph below. The channels actively cross-promote each other's content, essentially functioning as a single media collective, as far as algorithms are concerned. You don't need a majority of the guests to be LaRoucheites to make the show LaRoucheite adjacent in function. So this is a DeepSeek created graph. It's not the best. It's kind of rudimentary, but if I sat down and like made one of these, like there are programs that you can use to make.
You made that?
Yeah, I just typed in, I asked the DeepSeek, I made a very specific query trying to get it to make like a spider graph for me, and it created a pretty effective, like a good enough one, but it's probably better for me to do that myself than to get the AI to do that. I was just trying to get a graph in there. If you do a spider web graph, like a, you know, like a brain, like a connect the dots of all the names, that would be very revealing, okay? But I don't really have the software to do that, and so I just got the Discord, the DeepSeek to come up with this one.
Can I tell you something? You probably weren't looking. Okay, it's about Chris Halal. Oh, how you say his name? Halali.
Halali.
Dude has been 7 different people in the last 15 years. I think Cobra was one who said he's CIA or something. Chris is also the person who has the Epstein Black Book. I'm not making this up. How could all this nonsense with these people be coincidental? So exactly. I Googled that and I was like, how does he? Okay. So apparently they're saying he doesn't currently have the book anymore because he recently parted with it. But he purchased the book on eBay in 2020 for $425 after it was found on a Manhattan sidewalk. It was his 1997 black book. It's the black book that he had.
Allegedly. That sounds like a completely
Allegedly.
like invented artifact as like a red herring. I'm not looking into that black book at all. Someone else have fun with that.
I'm going to ask, well, who has it now?
Mm-hmm. But then this is where the AI has a hard time classifying some of like it's hard to figure out what people to put in these brackets, because I was saying they're Scott Ritter and Ray McGovern, they're like confirmed LaRoucheites as far as I'm concerned, but technically speaking they're not members of the LaRouche party. You know, they're speakers at the events, so I have to classify them as fellow travelers. But these people, Scott Ritter, Ray McGovern, Colonel Douglas McGregor, Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, they, for all intents and purposes, are LaRoucheites or spies, intelligence operatives, whatever. It's a fucking synonym as far as I'm concerned. And then there's the MAGA network, Jackson Hinkle, Caleb Maupin. They had like a falling out between them. They kind of like hate each other, right? But they all still support the Eurasianist agenda at the end of the day. So and there's some like Andrei Kortunov is like unofficial within the Russian government. So people like that, like they demonstrate that this is something that the American government that's supposedly like on the brink of war with these people or whatever, like they would arrest a Russian spy for interfering with the 2016 election or whatever. Like they're trying to treat them like they're actually their enemy and whatnot. Well, then they would not allow this kind of an arrangement between someone like Jackson Hinkle and Andrei Kortunov, whatever. The fact that it's allowed to happen shows that the Russian state and the American state, their intelligence services, are fully on board with allowing this association to take place so that the public can be duped by it, whatever, right? Maybe that's a little bit of far-reaching claim, but let's kind of get into it. So I don't want to get hung up on this. You guys can access the article and you can kind of pick it apart all you like. I would love for people to leave comments and criticisms and whatnot.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Actually, yeah, good point. No, let me do that.
Definitely need to put it in the description. Thank you.
It's bad cookies. Communism is not like herpes. Take it back. So I put
bad cookies.
I said caveat here. This diagram is likely misrepresentative because it is ultimately unlikely that Helga Zepp LaRouche or their institute or PAX or whatever is the actual head of this snake. And KJ No is not, based on my research, a confirmed LaRoucheite. I just didn't want to go like messing with like telling the DeepSeek to make the graph again, whatever, because it's not so good at remembering stuff that you talked about it with it, whatever. So based on my research, he is not a confirmed LaRoucheite. Rather, he, like many others associated with this network, appears on multiple platforms or organized events with other members also associated with this network, meaning enough circumstantial evidence leaves me credibly suspicious. Caleb Maupin is much more deserving of belonging in the confirmed LaRoucheites category. And here I showed this on like Tuesday, I think, the other day. This is when there are 9 Nazis at a table and you go sit with them, there are 10 Nazis at the same table. That's Caleb with these Russian fucking Eurasianist fascists. So some of the media platforms mentioned in the diagram above, such as The Cradle or Minpress News, yeah, I'm really not trying to like brand these guys as LaRoucheites. I'm just saying, just because they're independent media doesn't mean some of the people that make it onto their networks or make it like become friends with these people or become valued as a source of information. That's really the problem. Okay, some of these guests, the experts that they're talking to on The Cradle or Minpress I didn't look into enough, maybe, but Cradle for sure. There's a few people that they're having on that are LaRoucheites, and they either know that or not. They probably don't know how problematic. The other thing is, they're maybe not communist enough to understand the problems with the LaRoucheites as a problem. I think if you are like Marxist-Leninist and you're authentically Marxist-Leninist, you should see these people as problematic and needing to be separated, segregated from our efforts if we're going to accomplish any kind of real change that we're advocating for, not like fucking revolution. So, however, the presence of people on their networks directly tied to the Schiller Institute forces me to include them in this investigation, even if the majority of their content is unrelated to anything LaRoucheite. It seems to me that any independent broadcaster or media organization that gains any noteworthy online traction becomes a target for infiltration and or colonization by these LaRoucheites. So I humbly suggest that the findings of this article not be treated as a paranoid attempt to smear everyone with the same broad brush, but rather a warning and a wake-up call to those who do not intend to associate with fascists, their sympathizers, apologizers, or fellow travelers. This is where I have to say, even in Indie News Network that I like to promote all the time, I'm a loyal follower, fellow traveler even maybe of the Indie News Network. But like Tara Reid and I think, what's her name? I'm blanking on it now. It'll come to me later maybe, but there's a couple of guests that they've got on, and Tara Reid actually had like her own channel, like her own show on the Indie News Network for a while, but some of these people are caught up in this from like the libertarian side. They're not necessarily LaRoucheites, but if they're libertarians, like like I said, the Ron Paul style libertarian, like the paleo conservatives are being targeted by the LaRoucheites as well as the communists, and they're trying to form this bridge between them. So let me see. This is Dr. Hussein Askari. That's one of the examples of the people on the cradle. And I like...
Welcome to another episode.
I like Charmine and... what are the other ones? Mr. Escobar. I forget his name. But I like these guys, but I just, I don't think that they're real communists or whatever. They're just the anti-imperialists from West Asia, supporting their people, actually struggling against the empire more than we do in the West, right? But this is like when you're struggling against the West, when you're like West Asia, and you're saying Europe, stay the fuck out of our business. Well, Germany or whatever doesn't really have your interests in Syria or Lebanon at heart any more than France or England does. And if you think that they do, you're making a mistake. All right? So that's the evidence of Hussein Askari being connected with Helga LaRouche. Here's KJ No, I was saying on the cradle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome.
And I didn't have as much of a smoking gun for him, but I bet you if you look into this Veterans for Peace, it's going to be a similar thing to the Veterans for Intelligence, People for Sanity, or whatever, right? Like some of these veterans organizations are pretty infiltrated. And one of the things I found an article from Mother Jones that gets into these like Vietnam War vets that were really badly targeted by the LaRoucheites, the CIA, and the KGB in Sweden to be manipulated and whatnot. They became like a political hot potato. And so there's probably, if we do a whole article, a big project on this, we'll find this intelligence community infiltration of the veterans, anti-war movements, organizations, nonprofit organizations and whatnot, right? They probably were destroyed. Their political activism was probably destroyed by the CIA. So, but here's this Veterans for Peace. So KJ No, they're very much featured speaker on their group. And then you see Veterans for Peace with Diane Sayre on
Who
this
is KJ?
whatever. KJ is one of these fellow traveler people that they'll have these guests on. Like if you watch Danny Haifong, is where I first saw him. Danny
this guy
Haifong's
right
another
here?
LaRouche. Yeah, that's
Okay.
KJ No.
Okay.
So he got into a big argument with fucking Dimitri Lascaris over something. I forget now, but so Dimitri Lascaris too, whatever. By the way, if anyone ever shares this with him, I'd encourage Dimitri Lascaris to make a break with these people. I've seen him a little too close with a lot of these people as well. But I don't know if it's worth it to call him one of these LaRoucheite people. I highly doubt it. But he's certainly willing to work with them, not understanding that their guilt by association with them is not really a good idea. So Jamal triggered two guys so bad they won't go on his show anymore. KJ and Sarah Bills. Yeah, Jamal. I think Jamal cut it out. If not, it would be the last one he did with KJ. Yeah, I don't know if he deleted it, but I would have had some hope for Jamal that he was like pushing back on, like he actually pushed back on Scott Ritter, and I don't think Scott's going to go back on his show because he's butthurt, whatever, by Jamal. But Jamal's very much going to do stuff with Garland Nixon, and I don't know if he knows he's being played by these people. For Jamal Thomas, again, I recommend you stop working with these people because they're like not anti-imperialist, whatever. They're psyops. So
I clearly need to expand the independent media that I look at.
Well,
Clearly,
I need to find new channels now because I'm not really down with being fed slop by these guys anymore. So they're the ones pushing this multipolar Belt and Road initiative. That's gonna, like, China knows everything, whatever, automatically superior, whatever. There is no reason to criticize China right now because America is the only like fascist imperialist in the world. So you recommend and hi True Sensei. So you recommend that because you know how we talk about watching those types of shows so you can see how people are presenting information to people and how we need to like break it up and show how it's a psyop, things like that. But are you saying don't even bother? Just some of them I would say.
I don't know any of them anyway, so.
Yeah, go ahead and do your own due diligence. I encourage everyone to do their own fact checking. Don't just take my word for it. But
now I'm getting curious now. Like I think I'm going to go back and pull up some of these people and see what they're.
You might have to just because, but I'm saying don't. Like it would probably be helpful that I've warned you about them so that because if you hadn't had a warning about these people, like because I was watching them for years thinking there wasn't really anything wrong with it, but over time their narratives have to stick to certain talking points or whatever. They're pushing a certain agenda, and it's not communism. So
do you feel like they kind of moved into like a different grift, or
they're doing like whatever that communism stuff, like communism is revealed to be a failure or whatever. So we have to figure out how to be anti-capitalist without being communist. I don't really even know if that's what maybe that's putting words in their mouth or something, but that's kind of what it comes across to me as like they're acting like these. I have to get to the stuff about the Eurasianists and whatnot, but they're sort of acting like the conservatives are more vindicated than they actually are. They're not. No one was vindicated with the collapse of the Soviet Union. Communism was not really defeated as an ideology, but it is kind of, that was what I think the public perception has been. Like the collective consciousness of everybody in the world is kind of like, ooh, communism, I don't know. It seemed like a really good idea, but in practice, it didn't really work. So what do you want me to do now? So Cookie says, same, Nilo. I've been blocked by most leftist channels whenever I ask why they're so friendly with China. Garland Nixon and Danny Haifong blocked me for saying they fluff China a lot. Right. So this is what I'm saying. If they were like more genuine and honest or whatever, they wouldn't be blocking people for that reason. They like to say we have to be like willing to hear everybody, whatever, to get somewhere, but they don't want to hear from us. Funny. And so I just wanted to mention him because he wasn't here at the time. So we heard how you got blocked from Savvy Sabs. I want to be messy and find out why. So maybe on Tuesday or something. Black from Savvy too. I don't know. Oh, yeah, Cookies got black.
Maybe on Tuesday or something.
I wouldn't maybe. be surprised if I get blocked now or whatever. But that's what Garland Nixon and what's his name? I don't think Danny blocked me, but someone else blocked me. Oh, fucking Caleb Maupin. You know, they blocked me for asking questions. So that's like, what's that? Is it anarchist or libertarian expression where it's, if you want to find out who controls you, whatever, find out who you are not allowed to criticize. And that's what they're doing with China.
So just for
right?
asking questions, not for like saying mean stuff or whatever. Thank you so much.
So the problem is the
because
echo chamber is being.
That's what I was just about to.
Yeah, dissonance in the echo chamber, purity fetish, whatever. Got to squash it.
So the people that are watching, they're seeing everybody else in agreement, and so it just makes them think that they're completely right, and there's nothing they need to like research or try to confirm or look at it from another perspective, you know, like fill in gaps that may be there that you don't realize are there, stuff like that. So that's why you can't block people, because then you're just creating your little cult channel. And how is that helping?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, at least, the blocking thing, because you might achieve what's like. It seems like it's important to block people who are gonna. There are people who just kind of come on and try and troll whatever the channel, and just distract you and throw you off your track. Excuse me. And so there might be a kind of. I wouldn't want to totally banning. You know, there might be a need for banning as a last resort. But I agree with you totally. Like, you really don't want to be. It's most likely counterproductive to ban people, because it just makes you look like an asshole. It makes you look like an authoritarian fascist, whatever, who can't.
Unless they're like in there being mean and trolling and stuff, like being mean.
Yeah.
In making people uncomfortable with their emotional behavior. But when we're talking about the content and the meat of the conversation, you can't just block people just because you don't like their opinion. If that opinion isn't like something that is rooted in oppression of people, you know what I mean? Like there's some lines that it's like, all right, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It might be your opinion, but you're taking it too far.
We're not being liberals to say whatever. I'm not going to take that fucking toxic bullshit that you think that I have to sit here and listen to. Fuck off or whatever. All I have to do is click the button, and you don't have the power to try and destroy my self-esteem like that. It's not that hard to understand what's the right choice to do in that moment.
And by the way, Bad Cookies, like, she's kind of pushing, what's his name? Thomas Massey a lot, which was like really sus to me. So I get what you're saying. I never comment in her thread. I just go back and look later. I never go on live. I'd probably be blocked too. Now that I think about it.
The best use of our time to be like, what victory do you get by making a point on Twitter and then everyone likes and retweets your thing, whatever? It's not exactly as impactful as I wish it was more impactful, but you get a little caught up in the drama, and whatever victory you had today, tomorrow they'll get, like, that's where I'm seeing Sean's better prepare for the backlash. We'll see. Maybe they'll come out with a response. The like, ignore me would be better. That's kind of what they've been doing so far.
I feel like, because they'll probably look at, you know, like how many subscribers you have, and they won't.
It would look bad for them to try
care.
and punch down on me like that or whatever, right? Like, to think they would validate me by taking me seriously, and so
Right.
to treat
Exactly.
me like, right?
Like it's like, well, not that many people are going to see it anyway, so I don't really have to push back on it. You know, they might have that thinking.
Well, at first, we'll see if this is where I actually encourage you guys to share this as widely as possible. I don't normally ask you guys whatever, but I think it's important to put a chill effect on their efforts here. We want to effectively wake people up when this is happening, when these people are targeting people in their the people in their chats that they're fucking targeting with this whatever psyop shit. So it's our kind of duty to speak out against it, and therefore ask you to share it, share, like, and subscribe, or whatever, all the good stuff. So
Thank you so much.
So let's move on here. I'm gonna end up running out of time. So I was saying, KJ No connection here with Diane Sayre through the Veterans for Peace or whatever, the platforms, right? The connections are a little bit indirect and hard to kind of to tie together. But Veterans for Peace with Ron Batag from the Schiller Institute. So this, whatever this Veterans for Peace is, whatever, they're certainly at least willing to have them on sometimes. And so then Sputnik, just like RT, found this screenshot. Like, these names are all appearing a little too close together. Their faces a little too close together. Mark Sloboda, you'll see another one of these analysts that's on like Danny Haifong and all these channels, whatever. So some of them are like American assets, and some of them, I'm not sure if Mark Sloboda is a Moscow based or whatever, if he was an American who moved to Russia or whatever, if he was born over in Ukraine or Russia or whatever. But some of them are like Russian operatives and some of them are like Americans. Okay, so yeah. Roger Stone, Ron Paul, Lyndon LaRouche, and Willis Carto connection. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. I mentioned earlier that what we see today is best understood as an ongoing collaboration between the LaRouche movement and Ron Paul-style libertarianism. It's not easy to understand without first knowing how LaRouche teamed up with Willis Carto, how the LaRouche movement found a successor in Ron Paul after LaRouche's mail fraud conviction, how Willis Carto supported Ron Paul with his network of media outlets, how Carto also supported Pat Buchanan and Murray Rothbard's paleo strategy, how Ron Paul championed Buchanan and Rothbard's strategy, how Roger Stone later forged his own alliance with the LaRouche network despite having worked against Buchanan and Paul for years, and how Stone now publicly claims both men deserve the Presidential Medal of Freedom, a hint that elucidates, not erases, the contradictions inherent in this decades-long convergence. So that's kind of a run-on sentence, probably. I should have fixed that. But Willis Carto is like, from back in the day, he was like one of these, like one of the first neo-Nazis, basically. In 1975, LaRouche came into contact with and formed a partnership with Willis Carto, a reclusive, behind-the-scenes wizard of the far-right fringe of American politics, who established the Liberty Lobby, a notorious fascist white supremacist think tank and lobby group. The Liberty Lobby produced a magazine called The Spotlight that had a subscriber base of almost 200,000 people in 1979. Soon after LaRouche and Carto teamed up, The Spotlight began publishing articles by National Caucus of Labor Committee members. This is the NCLC was LaRouche's political party. So he basically went and teamed up with the white supremacists in 1975, like a guy who works with like the KKK people. And they went publishing articles for each other or whatever and trying to get subscribers off of this fucking homophobic, anti-Semitic rhetoric or whatever. It gets the subscribers. People want to pay for that shit, right? So this is how, like, LaRouche going from left to right, like in the 70s is when it happens. So you could even have bought LaRouche's publications through Carto's mail order service at this time. This is significant and relevant because in the 1980s, Ron Paul purchased the mailing list for the Spotlight from Carto with a conscious specific strategy of fundraising to pay off debts and boosting newsletter subscriptions by targeting extremists, racists, homophobes, and Holocaust deniers. So this is what I'm saying about if their funding strategy is like a fucking Ponzi scheme, they're not revolutionaries, all right? And so this is the other side of the coin, right? LaRouche will do that kind of fraud, and so will Ron Paul, and so will the Nazi Willis Carto, and that's why if you think there's anything leftist about them, you're kind of being stupid. So here's a little article from Democratic Underground. It's talking about Ron Paul's, how he wiped out his debt by selling these subscriptions to these people. So the Rage Against the War Machine rally, this was another like strong point of convergence. So The Rage Against the War Machine rally held in Washington, D.C. on February 19, 2023 was a particularly illuminating convergence of these interests and had a direct and significant connection to the LaRouche movement. The event was co-organized by the Schiller Institute, and several of its key figures were featured speakers and played central roles in the event's planning and execution. The rally was also organized by the Libertarian Party and the People's Party and serves as a connection between Ron Paul libertarianism, paleoconservatism, and LaRoucheism. Strategy of forming a right-wing populism that would bring the rednecks into the libertarian movement as well as attract alienated working class voters was actually developed in the 1990s by Lew Rockwell and Murray Rothbard. Those are some far-right libertarian assholes, all right? They sought an alliance with Pat Buchanan's paleoconservatives and even cited figures like Joe McCarthy and David Duke as models for this approach. The Rage Against the War Machine rally is the logical extrapolation of this decades-old strategy. So this is where I don't really know as much about like Republicans and libertarians as you guys, like because I'm Canadian. But if you guys know these names or whatever, you'll be making the connections, or you'll know that I'm not fucking making sense here. So you got Jimmy Dore, Ron Paul, Tulsi Gabbard, Dennis Kucinich, Gerald Salenti, Ann Wright, Scott Horton. I've seen most of these people. I don't know who Cynthia McKinney is, but Chris Hedges, Diane Sayre, David Swanson, don't know who he is, Daniel McAdams. There's like 3 or 4 people I don't know, but all these other people, Supreme, I don't know him, but I've been following all these people in the independent media, and that's kind of why I'm a little. I was close enough to this to be able to see it for what it was. That's the way I'm going to put it.
Is that pasta right there at the bottom?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I still appreciate Pasta, right? But he made mistakes. He definitely got things worth criticizing for.
Kim Iverson.
I almost stopped listening to him, watching him because of his support for RFK Jr., you know? But
yeah, that was weird.
He's got a lot of, like, this is where
weird.
If Pasta doesn't get kind of pulled into this bullshit with them, I think he might be one of the few people that's not going to end up going like totally swallowing the bait. You know what I mean? Because I've seen him like with Fiorella making some pushbacks against these libertarians, and if he would be on our side, he would be an asset as far as like being able to get through to some of these people in the libertarian kind of circles. But I have to be kind of careful with him if he's going to be a little too useful to be played kind of thing, then not sure.
I find it interesting because he would host Jimmy Dore's show, and Jimmy Dore does not like RFK like that because of the COVID thing. So I find that interesting. And, you know, Jimmy Dore is like hardcore about COVID since he got COVID injured.
Pasta to me is like he's doing a similar thing that back in the day I was thinking naively that it would be a good idea to try and find a way to get the Trotskyists and the Marxist-Leninists to bury the hatchet and resolve their differences, because I didn't think that they were so irreconcilable. He's sort of doing the same thing with libertarians and socialists. It's just like, how long are you going to try and do that before you sort of determine that it's not going to work? Or maybe you're going to make it work and you're going to prove to the rest of us that such a thing is possible. Because right now, most people don't believe that libertarian socialism is a viable strategy. So there are a few people out there.
Yeah. There are a few. AHD says Kim Iverson went full xenophobic on Twitter. But so those of you at home, xenophobic is an adjective referring to a deep-seated fear, intense dislike or prejudice directed at China, its government, its citizens, or Chinese culture. It can manifest as anti-Chinese sentiment, systemic discrimination or xenophobia toward the broader East and Southern East Asian diaspora.
Yeah. There is no championing China and then working with like the Kim Iversons to find some kind of happy middle ground. It's going to end in tears. Let me carry on here. But actually, I'll have to mention for Dan Cohen, I have a little video I shared from him here. he's woken up. All right, that's what I'm saying. There's some hope for some of these people, but they have to acknowledge that this is like some shit they have to extricate themselves, whatever, or else they're just gonna be doubling down on you, like fucking faggy goy, whatever, just dumb shit. You know what I don't like, or whatever, like Jew loving kind of thing. They're gonna say, "Oh, what? You have a object to my like using the word goy and stuff, even though that's like their word, and we're trying to take it over now."
I just noticed Anya Pompil is there. Oh, Max Blumenthal. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Max Blumenthal. Yeah, he's a little bit.
It's hard
more
to
of a
see
snake in
after
the grass and people
my eyes
understand,
closed.
right? Yeah, I don't trust the
And,
gray zone anymore. This was something I remember from a while ago. I just recalled it because it was relevant. This is an example of like this anti-war Rage Against the Machine thing is a place where you got ostensible Marxist-Leninists. Apparently, I don't really see any of the Marxist-Leninists, by the way, front and center here. These are all conservatives, okay? But and here we have Matthew Heimbach, is apparently like a notorious like Nazi who's trying to say I learned my ways or whatever were wrong, trying to become a fascist. But you know what? I've been reading some Marxist-Leninism, and I think I'm going to be a convert to Marxism-Leninism now. It's like, actually, I think you're just fucking fascist trying to infiltrate. But whatever. So that's him.
I
And then
want to
there's
know
this.
where they
Go
get
ahead
all
and
this
watch
money
it.
where they get all this money to go to all of these different. I mean, some people, it's like their job is they're just traveling from state to state, agitating crowds, or who is paying for all of this?
Yeah. Good question. That's where they have to have some kind of a PAC that's paying for it. This is where that's one of the reasons why we can't really be doing a party of our own, because we don't really have, either we disagree with those economic tactics required to do this kind of work, but what you found with like LaRouche and them being arrested for mail fraud and stuff, the way that they pay for this is by having like YouTube channels and stuff, duping people into like the YouTube channel is like the mail order subscription, because I was covering this the mail thing, the mail order service from back in the 80s and stuff, before they had all YouTube and everything. This was how you like had an audience, but the audience is online now. So the modern version of the mail order service is like the fucking YouTube subscriptions. So they get these, and they got convicted for like tricking people with Alzheimer's into sending them all kinds of money. Like that's what one of the things that they were accused of, that LaRouche and his people got sent to jail for. And then in France, another like LaRouche, the French LaRoucheite, whoever got jailed for the same fucking reason, you know, defrauding old people with disabilities into supporting something that's like some fascist bullshit. That's one of the many ways that they fund things. You know, I'm sure they got their fingers up in like some crypto scams and shit now, but we're just making kind of accusations now without proof. So we should stop doing that, I guess, right?
It's
But
speculation.
That stuff about, I think his name is
So
Jacques
say
Chaminade.
allegedly.
Jacques Chaminade, I think. I'll get to him later, but like, and LaRouche, like they were convicted. It's not speculation, for defrauding people. Like, and they would sit at like airport tables and try and convince people walking through the airport to buy their publications and stuff. That's just a bunch of conspiracy bullshit.
Jackson and Eagle heard y'all were talking about him. He's here.
Jackson Twinkhole. Got a specter in the house. All right, here we go. So I would encourage you guys to watch this Uncaptured Media. Dan Cohen,
background about
kind of right wing. I don't think he's a communist or even a socialist, right? But he's done with this shit, whatever. He's like independent. He's saying like the same. I included this because independent journalism is a farce. He's basically calling out the same psyop, but with less details, like less evidence about LaRouche influence specifically. But he's saw he saw the elephant from a different parallax perspective, but it's the same elephant we're talking about, okay? And then this too, I found also very important, whatever. What's his name? Alexander McKay. I'm glad to see him too. He's enough of a critical thinker. He had some support for the MAGA communism stuff and the ACP guys initially, and it seems like he's gone cold on them for good reason, because there can be no left-right unity. And so in this video, he's calling out RT, and he's saying how he won't be going back on there because he found out that there's a lot of bullshit going on there, like a lot of toxic right-winger shit that you shouldn't really be allowing if you actually are having leftists on for good faith reasons. You know what I mean? So go ahead and check those out. To me, it was not intended by them to be any kind of vindication of my work, but from my perspective, if you watch those videos and you read this article, I think that there's parallels to be drawn. So LaRouche, the stone in the shoe from Nixon to Reagan to Trump. You might be surprised to find that the common thread between Roger Stone and Lyndon LaRouche goes back a bit further than you might think. While LaRouche was a fierce critic of Nixon's decision to end the Bretton Woods system by replacing the fixed exchange rates with floating rates and decoupling the dollar from a gold standard, it's crucial to understand how the Nixon shock was a pivotal event that fundamentally reshaped LaRouche's political trajectory. This was perhaps the moment LaRouche located the central source of his global conspiracy, and his subsequent political journey from left to far right was apparently the path he took to fight it. When the Watergate scandal unfolded, although LaRouche and his movement maintained that he was the only economist who recognized on the day of Nixon's announcement that abandoning the gold standard for a system of floating exchange rates would inevitably lead to a catastrophe of speculation, austerity, fascism, and the danger of a new world war, he still allowed or directed a U.S. Labor Party candidate, which was a LaRouche party, a LaRouche Labor Party candidate in Michigan, one of LaRouche's many political organs, to make a public statement defending Nixon during Watergate. But then he's very much like, Nixon, you're so responsible for the Bretton Woods system, it's all your fault. So why would you do that then in the moment? It's weird. This is because LaRouche was fixated on the Rockefellers and the Atlanticist elite as the real enemy. The Watergate scandal was characterized not as legitimate scrutiny, but as a deliberate attempt to discredit Nixon and weaken the presidency itself. In LaRouche's conspiratorial worldview, the attacks on Nixon were a coup orchestrated by the Rockefeller faction to destabilize the country. You could just say capitalists if you were still a Marxist, but it's got to be Rockefeller specifically, right? Defending Nixon was a strategic move to fight the perceived greater systemic enemy. This action reveals that the foundation of his right-wing syncretism was already being laid during the Watergate era. His life's mission became overturning the system born on August 15, 1971. This mission potentially explains his entire transformation. He would ally with anyone from Marxists to Nixon's defenders who shared an enemy of that post-1971 financial system. His trajectory makes his later alliance with figures like Roger Stone almost inevitable. The movement that began on the left but defended Nixon fully completed its shift to the extreme right by 1977, which just so happens to be when LaRouche hired Mitchell Werbel, who carried out a secret OSS mission in China. OSS is the CIA before it was the CIA, with none other than E. Howard Hunt and Lucien Conein. Conein assisted Hunt in a significant pre-Watergate operation that was part of the Nixon White House Dirty Tricks campaign, and Hunt was a key figure in the Watergate scandal. Roger Stone was also called before the Watergate grand jury, but he was not charged with anything. John K. Singlaub was also a member of the team that carried out the secret OSS mission in China, along with Hunt, Conein, and Werbel. He also personally knew William Casey, director of Central Intelligence during the Reagan administration, as well as Oliver North, and was involved in the Iran-Contra affair. Singlaub was Reagan's administrative chief liaison in the Contra supply effort to oppose the Soviet Union's and Cuba's advances in El Salvador and Nicaragua during the Cold War. Through his chairmanship of the World Anti-Communist League and its U.S. chapter, the U.S. Council for World Freedom, he enlisted members of Congress from both political parties, D.C. policymakers, retired military officials, paramilitary groups, foreign governments, and American think tanks, and conservatives in the Contra cause. He often met on Capitol Hill with members of Congress, including Charlie Wilson, about U.S. support and funding for the Contras and anti-communist resistance forces in Afghanistan. That is John Singlaub. There is no evidence of any direct connection between LaRouche and Singlaub. I just find it fascinating how interconnected all these people are. Because Singlaub is definitely, he connected with like Mitchell Werble and the Watergate conspirator people. And Mitchell Werble is connected with Willis Carto. So it's like, wow, why do all these people know each other? Vladimir Kroichkov, for example, had this is a name coming out of nowhere. I guess I should have edited it again, but my bad. Had the major responsibility for encouraging the Soviet government to invade Afghanistan. I don't know if maybe I put that completely in the wrong place, but hold on to this thought. Vladimir Kroichkov, for example, was one of the main people responsible for encouraging the Soviet government to invade Afghanistan, and he helped crush the Hungarian uprising in 1956. This is where we get the name Tankies. So this man was extremely influential in what the Soviet Union became, whatever. Those are things that, like, not its best moments that people very much criticize it for. And so this man is important, okay? LaRouche's intelligence operatives enjoyed a cozy relationship with members of the Reagan administration. In a 1985 Washington Post story, Norman Bailey, a Reagan National Security Council staffer, recounted meeting with LaRouche organization members numerous times, and with LaRouche himself 3 times. Bailey described LaRouche's group as one of the best private intelligence services in the world. So this is like Nixon and Reagan and Trump. To me, those are like some of the worst right-wing people you could associate with. And if LaRouche is happy to associate with all these people, what the fuck do you find like worth validating, upholding about his legacy today? Somebody needs to explain this to me, make it make sense. And yet, according to LaRouche and his organization, the Iran-Contra affair was not a rogue operation, but proof of a secret government conspiracy. Oh, right, it's the witch hunts again. They claimed it was run by intelligence officials. One of the best private intelligence services in the world says it was run by intelligence officials. Do you hear this? Right? Who also orchestrated a campaign of infiltration and prosecution against LaRouche himself to silence his opposition to Reagan's Central America policies, much like his opposition to Nixon's 1971 economic policies. This is where if you like flip-flopped a million times, why the fuck whatever, the boy who cried wolf, the LaRouche who cried whatever witch hunt. LaRouche and his followers reframed the entire Iran-Contra affair as a symptom of a deeper, more pervasive conspiracy. From their perspective, allegedly, the scandal was not a deviation from proper government procedure, but a window into the illicit workings of a shadow government. The same one they claim was responsible for the systematic campaign of surveillance, infiltration, and ultimately prosecution against Nixon, and now LaRouche himself. When in doubt, call it a witch hunt. Coincidentally enough, this window into the illicit workings of a shadow government resonates strongly with the core arguments of Roger Stone's JFK conspiracy theory, which he published in his 2013 book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy. And unfortunately, I don't have the resources or the time or inclination to read all of these books that all these people write, or probably had fucking ghosts writ. So this is another thing from the Executive Intelligence Review. This is just a little screenshot of their rhetoric about the JFK assassination and the Contra affair. So in November 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas by multiple snipers acting in complicity with the secret government of the United States, which included McGeorge Bundy and William Bundy of the National Security Council. The death of Kennedy and the ensuing failure to publicly expose those who had ordered and abetted his assassination were stepping stones on the way to the creation of the secret government's present lawless authoritarian police state regime in the United States. But this is just like the LaRoucheite conspiratorial view. So, but I just find that that's very interesting because the people that they were caught up with the Watergate scandal kind of tied back with this JFK stuff. Like, there is more to explore here. I'm only touching the surface. Things just get weirder when we consider that Hunt, Coney, and Frank Sturgis were all linked to both the Kennedy assassination and the Watergate scandal. And then primarily through accusations, investigations, their shared social and professional network, and Mitchell Werble. So these people involved in this secret OSS mission to China or whatever were then involved with the Kennedy assassination, the Watergate scandal, and the Iran-Contra affair. Various members of that original group, not all of them, but it's too much to be fucking coincidence.
It's quite the coinky-dink.
So this is another quote. The Wizard's 60-acre training facility is located on whatever 360 near Powder Springs. According to local newspapers, it is guarded by the latest electronic gadgetry backed by a squad of attack dogs. Werbel's home is on the grounds and is a frequent center for social gatherings of the right, featuring such diverse personalities as Watergate burglar Frank Sturgis, drug enforcement expert Lucian Conine, Liberty Lobby chief Willis Carto, and LaRouche Committee Secret Security Director Jeff Steinberg. This is from Dennis King. It's a web archive link, but Dennis King is a guy who wrote a book. I forget exactly what it's called, but that is like the go-to book. He did a really good deep dive on the whole LaRouche business. So please check out Dennis King's book on LaRouche. Reagan carried the torch of Nixon's legacy of dirty tricks and the madman theory, and Trump carries it forward today. This is clear as day to anyone who's been paying attention, and Roger Stone and Lyndon LaRouche carry these torches too. So this is the thing about that madman theory or whatever, like LaRouche has this, he does that same tactic as Nixon and Trump, and so that's a big problem or whatever, as far as you can't support that kind of madman theory or whatever. Then you legitimize madness and the inability to actually put madness in its place, as far as if they're really crazy, they can't be in charge with the people with the fingers on the nuclear or whatever codes. You should be putting these people in these institutions that you would rather actually have someone like me locked up in for no fucking reason. So we can't let them get away with that madman theory bullshit, right? It is like a gaslighting of the entire fucking world. And the consequences of gaslighting everybody is mass psychosis. So you can't have that. So Houston-based attorney Douglas Caddy claims that Harley Schlanger, a key LaRouche associate, asked for an introduction to Roger Stone in January 2016, knowing the two were acquainted. Caddy, who is best known for briefly representing some of the Watergate burglars, has written that he first met Stone in 1975 when the two were involved in the National Conservative Political Action Committee. When Stone wrote his book alleging LBJ was behind the Kennedy assassination, he thanked Caddy, an active participant in online conspiracy forums, for providing him documents. Caddy has his own links to the LaRouche network. In 2014, he appeared on a radio show hosted by Schlanger and also signed a public petition organized by a LaRouche group. His Mother Jones article was a great article, by the way. I think it's called like An Insane Story About Roger Stone and Lyndon LaRouche. And if that was not enough to raise your eyebrows, the same article mentions how LaRouche made contact with Roy Cohn, and by extension, Donald Trump. You can't make this shit up? I don't know. Some people, Machiavellian people, rather than take offense at being targeted by you, gain respect and admiration. Stone's warm tone that day belied a more tangled history with LaRouche's organization. In the 1980s, LaRouche went after Stone's friend and mentor, Roy Cohn, a powerful New York attorney and political fixer who represented a new neighborhood paper investigating the LaRouche organization. According to Lyndon LaRouche in the New American Fascism, journalist Dennis King's definitive account of the organization, Cohn's vengeful ex-lover, with guidance from LaRouche's camp, reached out to Stone and other Cohn associates, seeking compromising information. When Cohn's ex was later charged with harassment as part of the scheme, Stone wrote to the judge requesting a harsh sentence. So that's all just to point out kind of how they got to know each other. But since like the 80s, these people have been working together. So this whole thing about like Diane Sayre is like they're not supporting Trump, and it's like Barbara Boyd, she's the real Trump, whatever, die hard. No, people have been working with these assholes for fucking decades. You don't get to pretend like you aren't one and the same as them, okay? So I'm getting a little bit towards 9 o'clock. I was thinking I still got a lot to go. We're not even halfway through, or maybe almost halfway through.
We could do a part 2.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I'm gonna have to. It's a lot. This is where I was saying I
And
found
this
so much.
this
I
is
just
very
kept going.
good.
So I thought all of this belongs together, right? It's not something that
Let me
really.
give you a clap.
Thank you. Because alternatively,
I've
I was
learned
going
a
to
lot.
propose. Alternatively, I could hand it over to you, and you could keep reading while I go take Bella for a walk. Or if you're getting a little tired, it's almost 3 hours. Let's just do
It's
it.
not that I'm tired. I have to go cook.
Yeah.
I gotta
Well,
tell
maybe
you a
we'll have to-
story. I was supposed to cook yesterday because we were coming on today, right?
Mhm.
I go in there and I'm like trying to light the oven and it won't light. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Mhm.
And then my water heater's off, like the water. So my gas got cut off.
Oh,
Now,
fuck, eh?
they did come put a thing on the door saying your gas is going to get cut off. But the people, I didn't know who these people were. So I was like, this is probably a scam. And then they're going to want me to call and give them my information. And no, I'm not doing that.
So you forgot to
Well,
pay the bill, or?
No. This gas company bought out the gas. It used to be like it used to be electric and gas together in one company, but this other company bought the gas portion. I did not know that. They bought it a year ago. I've been like hanging out on this gas, not paying this bill because I didn't know. I just assumed my bill was getting paid. It's automatic payment. So I had to pay like $800 to get my gas cut back on because I had to pay for the entire year. It was just awful. It was so awful.
That
I was
sucks.
not expecting that kind of bill. So now I got to go back and look and make sure I'm not like I can't spend any more money.
Yeah, can't get burned like that again.
So yeah, now I got to go cook tonight because I couldn't cook yesterday. But they came back. They came today and turned it on. But it was crazy because the gas was still in my father's name. The electric and gas was in his name, but he's deceased. So I went ahead and put it in my name. Okay. They're like, oh, we need $150 deposit. I said, for what? I'm almost 50 years old. I've had gas, electric, lights. I've done it all. Like water. What do you need a deposit from me for? Well, you're a new account, so we don't we've never worked with you before. I didn't ask you to come to my city. You came. I was doing just fine without you. And because you don't know me, I didn't go looking for you. Oh, I was so mad.
I have pity for the traveling salesmen, They went on that limb for you.
That was pretty stressful. And so we were like eating salads and just whatever we could find in the refrigerator that didn't require cooking. So now I gotta cook.
Well, if I do that,
we gotta eat.
Even if I have my stove and everything working and I can cook, if I just don't feel like it. So some days I scrape by eating shit like instead of eating like a king, I eat like a peasant or whatever.
Yeah, I try to eat like a king, but that's because I cook all the food myself. So I try to do all the restaurant style stuff at home. And it's cheaper that way. So anyway, that being said,
I wanted to put up my Ko-fi account here in case anybody wanted to do some value for value kind of stuff. I guess do you want to do next Thursday or do you want to do Tuesday? You want to try and finish the article or? Yeah, it's an info dump, bit of like an autist kind of thing.
Rondo's here.
What's up, Rondo?
So.
But it's like
we could talk about it, but what I want to say? Oh, you have one subscriber on Substack.
Nice. Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, go ahead and subscribe on my Substack.
Guys, go subscribe. Yeah, go subscribe on the Substack. It's a really good article. I have to go back and read it myself slower so I could like go look up stuff, go down a little rabbit hole, come back to the article.
You gotta fact check me for sure, because like some of it is kind of speculative. I don't exactly have enough as with any psyop or whatever. They really don't give you enough evidence to really nail them to the wall. You have to be really good at putting it all together, and you still won't really have like the smoking gun by default. You know, that's the whole point. Otherwise, like they're trained fucking operatives or whatever. They have a whole machine that creates people that are trained experts at deceiving people. So don't be surprised if we have a hard time coming up with all the evidence that we're being deceived. So I didn't even get to like the Eurasianists and stuff. I was sort of throwing out some offensive shit, whatever. But when we get to part 2, you'll see why I'm so pissed off with the like Russia and China and this Eurasianist influence that to me was like, until it's kind of benign sounding, like Eurasianist, you know, you don't realize that it's anti-communist in its origins and intent, its intentions. And so for China to be ostensibly communist and working with these Eurasianists and working with the Hindutva fascists, because Modi, the BJP, the party that is in power in India right now, is undeniably Hindutva fascism. And there's only so much looking the other way that China can do when it wants to do more business with America. It wants to work hand in hand with Russia and India, whatever. When they do all this undeniably fascist shit, you just compromised yourself. That's all I'm saying, right? Like, I'm not totally against China, whatever. I believe in, like everyone else in the Marxist, whatever, like any real leftist, China is kind of our only hope right now, you know? And they had a real, like when it was Mao and everything, they had a lot, like a very real revolutionary like movement, and they were successful because of their revolutionary actions, like Mao's collectivism and everything, and the Soviet Union's collectivism. It's often criticized as like genocidal and whatnot, but there was a lot of what they did that was very like democratic, actual power to the people kind of stuff, and we just don't know the history very well. And of course, they had some problems. I think they're the criticism of the Soviet Union and Maoist China and China today is like they didn't really treat eugenics as completely off limits. You cannot have any kind of communist eugenics, whatever. It's just as bad for a communist to be a eugenicist as it is a fucking Nazi. And so that's kind of what the reasons, my explanation for why some of the millions of people died, whatever, is because they maybe dabbled in some eugenics. And it was a bad fucking idea. And if we want to make the correction, we better fucking call that out instead of today looking the other way when China, whatever, develops technology like CRISPR and stuff like that. That is like, there's too much eugenics still going on. Okay.
I think maybe Thursday would be better because if people want to chime in on Tuesday, we'll probably never get it done. Never get the part 2 out the gate.
Well, because I want to have some guests on. Like, I don't want to be on this all day. Whatever. So if we don't get around to it soon enough, I'll just probably hop on by myself and finish reading it. And then we can have some commentary and criticism, whatever, on Tuesday and stuff. Right? But I'll just, like, if we don't get to it by next Thursday, then I'll just, whenever I have time, I'll do
maybe we could talk about it. Maybe I'll be able to come. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll let you know, and we'll work it out. So
okay.
I had you guys enough for tonight, so hopefully your interest is piqued to see the rest of it. So
it was very interesting. I learned a lot.
Well, thank you. I was worried it was maybe too niche, right? Like, who the fuck? Nobody knows who the hell LaRouche is. So, but apparently they had quite the influence. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, well, apparently a lot of people know who LaRouche is, and it's in the fabric of a lot of this independent media. So I think it's important that people know what they mean when they say that, so you can have your antennas up when you're watching these independent media sites. Just, so you could really form a intellectual decision on if you agree or don't agree with the things that are coming out of their mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and like LaRouche is like the whole legacy thing. Like Diane Sayers, like we gotta uphold this man's legacy after 30 years. He's like a great statesman and everything. This is like the same thing as Winston Churchill and George Washington and the founding fathers, right? And like there's this what's the word? Hagiography, not historiography. Hagiography is when they like tell this glowing propaganda of a biography of a famous figure or whatever, and it's basically bullshit. It's this illusion, this prestige that they need to maintain for their fraudulent whatever, like these bullshit economists whose ideas would be disastrous if we put them into play. They have to be treated with like the prestige of the most respected man of history, or whatever, because their ideas are so revolutionary. And if you pick apart their legacy, whatever, you expose a whole bunch of shit, whatever. But so that there's this importance to uphold.
That's like Alan Greenspan when he like really messed up the economy, and he was like, "Oh, I miscalculated it." When he had to go in front of Congress, I miscalculated. Oopsies, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
But you know, someone like Marx, that legacy is not. You can't touch that with a 10-foot pole, whatever. It's like if you compare our legacies, whatever, one clearly comes out on top. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's Marx, by the way.
All right. Well, let me do my thing.
Bella, you ready? You're a good girl tonight.
Hi, Bella. Hi, sweet baby.
I think she was sleeping. She's just like, what? Who's there? Good girl.
No bad cookies. I'm getting it all.
Tell Tosh me that's some better chair dancing by Grandma having a seizure. Goddamn cookies.
I'm getting it all.
Got the razor sharp wit tonight.
See, that's why you get banned from places. See? That's why you can't go on any independent media station anymore.
How deeply unserious of you.
You're bad.
All right.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see each other in the chatosphere over the weekend. I'm sure you guys. I'm gonna try to get into somebody's chat this weekend, see what's going on, and I'm gonna try to watch some of these people that you have put in your article that I knew nothing about. I think I'm doing myself a disservice not to listen and see how they're framing things.
Yeah. Well, and there's even too many people to include in the lists, right? Like, this is where apparently I've been watching a little too much independent media. I maybe need to get a life a little bit. So.
All right. Well, Rondo, peace, fam. Thank you all you guys for hanging out with us. Don't forget to go to his Substack and subscribe. Because maybe he'll start writing some more articles or something.
I think we're going to try and integrate Substack a little bit more into our, like, you can connect it. We can stream on Substack and YouTube. I just was trying to connect.
Oh, you can? See, I didn't even know that.
I couldn't get it to work, whatever. I might need your help to link our thing, our like Abby Do Abby Don't YouTube channel to my whatever Substack. But once we get that, then we'll be growing. Like, a lot of people use Substack. A lot of people get even more engagement on Substack than they do on YouTube. So I think it's a good move for us.
Okay.
And, yeah.
We'll talk about it. Driving me, Macy. Okay, I got to get this one too because it's on. Because Macy's already in a chair, so you're part of it too now. You didn't just inserted yourself. You got to dance. Got to dance.
Well, I guess we'll
So I don't think you have to pay to become a content because you didn't have to pay to write an article, right?
I was able to set it up for free, but maybe someone can help me figure it out, whatever. They're trying to make me start like a business. I need to have some kind of official like business thing, whatever, to put into it
for Substack?
Paid subscribers on the Substack. to get the Stripe
Oh.
thing, to use the Stripe service that the whatever transacts the money if people donate. I guess they want to know what my business name is for my Substack in order to set up the Stripe service. So I'm like, why
Oh,
can't I
you
just set
can't
this up like-
just use a 1099 that you can't just,
maybe
it has to be a LLC or something.
this is where I'm really not tech savvy. That's like my Achilles heel here, where I could have
Okay.
my content would be better reached if we were better with the tech, but or our content, right?
I'm not horrible with tech, but I just don't. I'm just doing other stuff, and I probably should sit here and do more of that
It's tedious.
before I lose it. Before I lose
Yeah.
my craft. So
But yeah. Anyway,
okay.
yeah. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. We'll get this article finished. No worries. So, and if you want, go ahead and read it yourself. Whatever. If you're tired of waiting for me. So.
That was no dig at you, Rondo, at all. Look at me being messy. Messy boots. All right. All right, everyone. Comrades, love you. And we'll see you soon.
See you on this other side. Au revoir.